Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Vertex Esports and welcome to the final round of Season 3 of the Vertex Stock Car Cup. We're here at the wonderful and very tricky Richmond, which a lot of these drivers have either been looking forward to with a lot of excitement or they've been absolutely dreading coming here for the final round. It really is a tough one. My name is Chaz Draycott, and alongside me for the final round of the season, as ever, is the wonderful Dawes. Chris, we've had an absolute corker of a season so far, but tonight we're going to crown that one deserving champion.
Yeah, haven't we just? It's been epic, and I can't wait for this round. This sort of like little speedway track. You know, it's something like 3/4 of a mile long. It's really tight. It's one of those ones that, you know, here and the likes of Bristol, I really want to go and see these smaller ones live as well. And it means we're going to get things like lappery going on, which is going to make life interesting. We saw it at the towards the tail end of the last race, didn't we? The lappery really throws things up, and we're going to get plenty of that here, I think. I can't wait. I mean, what a way to round off the season. Yeah,
it's going to be an absolute corker. And like you say, these smaller circuits, they sort of... I'd say they separate the men from the boys sometimes, don't they, compared to some of the faster circuits where you can pretty much stay flat and just lift a little bit maybe. These ones are all about slowing the car down in the right way. We know that these things do, in some ways, rely on aero quite a bit when they get onto the faster stuff, but when they're not at their best and they're struggling mid-corner and trying to get the power down, it's not easy in the slightest, is it? And these guys have really got to have their wits about them tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we were hearing reports of things like it's quite a wide back straightaway, and then they come into the turns 1 and 2, and whilst the track doesn't necessarily narrow into turn 1, the groove does. So, you know, they'll have this faux confidence thinking, right, I can throw one up the inside or even the outside, such is the nature of this racing, of course, and then suddenly go, oh heck, I've got no grip left, and because they find themselves not in the groove, and they're spat into the wall or into another car or whatever, and it's going to be challenging. We're probably going to be looking at 2, maybe 3 pit stops, possibly more if cautions tantalise them to do that. Yeah, they've got an extra set of tyres here for this race as well, so it's possible for them to do that, but it's really tight, pit in, pit out. And we saw that last race meet, didn't we? Was it Kenny Mitchell T-boned himself on the pit wall, for goodness sake? This is going to be even harder for him.
It is, yeah. And like I said there, these cars are really squirrely in the slow stuff. So I'm intrigued to see who manages that the best, as James Montgomery manages the wall and just tries to push the limits there. We had, I got sent a video of Alex in the practice race doing an almighty send, as James Montgomery turns it into an initial D video. There was an almighty send by Alex in the practice race on Mikey Doble, and he was completely out of shape on the way in. It was sideways as anything. Still managed to get it stop and make the move work, and I'd be kind of scared to say that we're going to have the same again tonight, but I think we will. It's going to be the moves that really catch these drivers out are going to be the late ones, and in fairness, you've got to have that confidence to do it, I think, around here this evening. It's not going to be easy.
I agree. I mean, I'm rather it's them than me trying to do this, I must be honest, but I think that this is an interesting one as well, where we've talked about it in a few of the races where you've got to have this patience where you think that your race has unraveled and you're suddenly, down in the teens or lower in terms of positions because of something that's happened. But you can have that patience to sort of pick your way through, and a lot can change in a blink of an eye. Even more so when you're talking 3/4 of a mile around this circuit, it's even more possible for things to change. So you've just got to kind of go, right, I'm really annoyed with what's happened, but let's roll with it. We're going to make this work. And yeah, that's going to be some serious mind management. And of course, we've got our championship leader, Aaron Smith. We've said that he's the coolest cat that we've ever come across. His interviews, he's so relaxed and laid back, is brilliant. But, we've been amazed. He's basically finished either first or out of the top 10.
Yeah,
it's boom bust to a certain degree. 14th and a 12th, isn't it, in 2 of the races?
Yeah, there's a big lack of the consistency, really, from Aaron, unfortunately. But it's part of
Which
what
means we don't know what's going to happen today is the point, isn't it? We just do not know. But he's going to have to call on all his mind management and his cool-cattedness to try and make this one work. That's a new word, and it's mine, right?
Well, I'm just I'll admit, I'll go full disclosure here, everybody. I updated the points earlier on today, but it seems that they've been updated again since then. So I was just about to bring up the championship standings, and fortunately, I've got the other sheet on my screen that proves me wrong at the minute. But we'll give this a go.
I'll tell you why that was. That there was some temporary points that were put in to show that it's dynamic for this race. That's why, and you probably printed that out when there was points given to the top 3 so that we could see that it was dynamic. But I've even added my own formula to this spreadsheet so that it will automatically remove their lowest score as well.
Well, we have the championship standings there. Aaron Smith, he's got a decent advantage at the moment, but when you consider that Jason Glenn, Brian Crowles and Mikey Doble are only separated by 1 point for the best of the rest, that's a scary, scary close predicament that Aaron's got himself in. He just basically needs to finish ahead of those boys, doesn't he, tonight? And that's it.
It is. I mean, there's an element that's worked out well there, that he's got, a 14th and a 12th position, because that means that he's got a smaller point haul to drop than some of the others. You look at, for example, let's say Mikey Doble's the one that's impressed me the most, and of course the Lucky Wheels racing driver there, where he's just looking at his results: 3rd, 4th, 5th, 3rd, 4th, 2nd. I mean, how impressive is that?
It's been absolutely awesome this season from Mikey Doble. And I mean, you'll remember as well when he came in the championship in Season 2. I think he came in for the last round of Season 1, but he was definitely in for the majority, or at least all of Season 2. And he did have a little bit of inconsistency about him. He was just getting to grips with it and learning how the cars behave. But from then on, he has just been absolutely brilliant and a consistent competitor right near the front. They're out in qualifying.
And was threatening for the win last race, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, he was that confident. He's promised us a beer if he doesn't. He didn't win the last race, everybody. So what he's actually done is double or nothing. So Chris and I are 2 beers up each if Mikey Doble doesn't win tonight. So get him. But qualifying though.
Now, we got sorry, Chaz, I was going to also add is that, just so everybody knows, we might not be definitive in terms of the points, or if it goes pretty close, because as well as the 43 points downwards for first place onwards, you've got a point for pole position, a point for fastest lap, 3 points for whoever leads the most number of laps in this race. Everybody who leads a lap gets a point. That feels like school, doesn't it? Everyone's a winner, baby. Biggest mover, most positions gained from race start. Actually, there's one that's not there that Alex happened to mention, is that he was saying that there's also a point for the person who leads the last lap, which he doesn't actually mention at the top of this, but we have to assume that he wasn't making that up.
I think what he was referring to was the fact that the person that wins the race will automatically get an extra point because they led the last lap anyway, I think, if you know what I mean, because they'll have led a lap at that point anyway.
Of course, hence the 43 plus one. Okay, that makes sense. I get it. That's the point. And so yes, and 1 point for the biggest mover that moves the most amount of positions from race start. Yes. So don't expect us to be adding all of that up, guys. So if there's like 1 or 2 points in it, the bets are off. Chaz and I will be down the pub, leaving everybody else to work it out, basically.
We will indeed. But the simplest situation of somebody that needs to do something is this man. Aaron Smith needs to finish ahead of Jason Glenn, Brian Crowles and Mikey Doble by, well, he could even finish 12 places behind them if you consider it on just the base position scores, because it's 1 point difference per position. So as long as Aaron isn't 12 places behind them, then he's going to be pretty all right. And we have, I think, 15 cars in the field. So Aaron just needs to get to the end here to wrap it up, but he needs to make sure it's comfortable enough not to rely on those bonus points, doesn't he?
He does. I mean, he's going to be slightly helped here, isn't he? I think, sadly, the challenge of this, I think I spotted in practice was running at something like 14. He's going to be on the grid, I think. So, worst case scenarios are looking less likely, frankly, there, which is good news for him. So it's all his in reality. He's just, and that's going to be an interesting dichotomy for him, isn't it? He's going to be sat there. He's a winner by nature. We've always been impressed by his incredible driving. As Mark Redford changes his mind at the last minute. We're going to see a bit of that, I think, during the race. But yeah, he's going to be there going, well, I don't need to push as hard. But that can actually make you come unstuck as well if you're not doing what you normally do.
Yeah, that's very true. It can go one way or the other. What you're doing by pushing is actually just making there a higher percentage of risk in every single lap that you're putting on the board. So I'm intrigued to see how they manage it. This is Jason Glenn, who's been another absolute star this season. He's currently second in the championship, tied with his teammate Brian Crowles at Track Velocity Racing. So both of them want the honours of being top dog in the team, and Jason Glenn's just gone and done that. 22.582, 3,000ths off Alex Sedgwick. So mega stuff from Jason. But he's another one of those drivers, isn't he, Chris, that when we first saw him, he was sort of mid to back of the pack, but he's really come on strong these last 2 seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to remember. I'm sure that the race in the last season where he really jumped to my attention, I might be wrong, but in fact, it might not have been a good thing, but my recollection was Zolder.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm sure I recall him suddenly doing well, that I was like, oh, okay, that's impressive. And since then, he's always been there or thereabouts. I mean, it's been an intriguing one. He started off this year at Auto Club with a 23rd place.
Yeah.
So it didn't start well, but then it was a third, a seventh, a second, and a fifth. So, you know, after that opening round, he's always been there or thereabouts. So that would be interesting. Brian Crowles, we know he's always gunning for this. 4th, 2nd, 9th, 4th, 3rd so far this year. So it's going to be interesting.
Certainly will be. Really looking forward to the final race of the season. Here is your grid then. Alex Sedgwick takes pole position with Jason Glenn alongside him. Mikey Doble and Kenny Mitchell, car 4, P4. Brian Crowles is 5th with Aaron Smith, potential champion here. Well, they're alongside each other on the same row, which is always interesting. You've then got Mark Redford and Adrian Burks. Marcel Freinzehner lines up alongside Justin Nair on the 5th row of the grid, rounding out your top 10. Our good mate Mark Werrell is 11th, with James Montgomery in 12th position. David Van Glebeek is 13th. He's very, very pleased that I managed to fix his name on the overlay. Mark Murphy is 14th. And Ivan Bauman's rounds out the grid in 15th place. And, I mean, the size of the grid is a talking point here, Chris, because we mentioned the traffic last time. I think this might be a little bit easier round here this time for them, because the traffic's got a slower momentum sort of circuit to get out of the way on. What do you reckon?
It could be. I'm just going back to my notes because this is, Alex was saying, there's similarities with this with Iowa, although Iowa's a little bit bigger. Yeah, and Iowa had 24 cars on it. So, you know, they are getting off a little bit lighter on this, but it kind of shows how much of a challenge they're expecting it to be. You know, it includes, you know, the stories that we're being told is that the gearing is going to be set up so that in 4th gear they're going to be 140, 150 mile an hour, something like that. They'll take the restarts in 2nd gear and they will spin the tyres up. You know, it's going to be very hard not to do it. And then as they go up through the gears on this tight circuit, they're going to be spinning the tyres up. The problem is, it then is going to start killing their tyres. Is that, you know, in reality, we should be looking more like being able to sort of push it. I think those that really were able to push it long, 80 to 85 laps. But you hear stories that if they push it too hard, not just with those restarts and spinning them up, but just too much side-by-side racing, you could suddenly have 10 laps and your tyres are screaming mercy. So it's, I mean, we go the phrase that you know I use quite a lot, the fastest game of chess. We're back to that environment on this tight-knit circuit that, let's be honest, imagine being in the grandstands there, being able to see this whole circuit and watch the whole race play out in front of you. It's just amazing. Look at it. Absolutely amazing. Bucket list stuff, that.
It is indeed. And like you said before, you mentioned Bristol. What a place that would be to go to see racing like this.
It's covered in dirt at the moment in the real world. Have you seen that?
Yeah, they turned it into a dirt oval, which is one of the most bonkers ideas for a dirt oval you could ever come up with, really. But I'm all for that. Sounds exciting. But this is certainly going to be exciting then. We've got Alex Sedgwick leading the field. The lights are coming on around the circuit as well. And the final round of the 3rd season of the Vertex Stock Car Cup gets underway. at Richmond. Mikey Doble was really wanting to make sure he didn't miss the jump there. That was very, very feisty stuff, but nice and tidy around the first handful of corners. And this is just an important bit. It's a long, long race here, Chris. They just need to get into a rhythm early on, don't they? Oh, there's no rhythm in that, though. Mark Werrell went in a little bit hot. And unfortunately, Adrian Burks is the first casualty of the race.
Wow. I mean, did you see how wild they were looking coming off turn 2? We were hearing, I explained about going into turn 1 being hard, but watch them come off turn 2 when it goes from, what were they saying? It's something like 13, 14 degrees banking down to 2, and it suddenly makes the car feel wild. And watch them. They're going to go into this turn 1 with the narrowing groove. Second half of that U-bend, if you will, it's turn 2. And watch them all get out of shape as they come onto here. Already at the front, you can see it. Watch this lot now. Look at that. It looks really tight, but it's into turn 3. And was there definite contact? Oh, yeah, there was. And it was just, in fact, who just escaped there on the outside of Mark Werrell at the back?
I think it might have been Justin Naya got away with that one. Let's have a look at Justin. So I think Mark would have been focusing at this point. James Montgomery put his nose down the inside, and he just goes a little bit late on the brakes. There is the tiniest of touches.
Not much, was it?
No, it's just the tiny margins that these guys deal with, isn't it? And unfortunately, not the cleanest of starts, but it gives these guys a bit more time to get into the rhythm of the race, get into the idea of what they want to do here. They've had a quick exhibition, let's say, at race pace at the front. But now they really need to focus and see if they can get a long green flag run and make a breakaway.
See, both Werrell and Adrian Burks had to drop into the pits just to presumably get a little bit of damage repaired there for them. Mark Werrell's great to see him out there. Someone I work with absolutely loads in the commentary box, and one of the most established commentators in the country. And it's great to see him out here racing as well, and he's the one that's given us a real idea of how much of a challenge this really is out there, and he's quite a dab hand, to be fair. Whenever, like when we've been at Brands Hatch and commentating on some of the big events, whether it's what's now the GT World Challenge or the American Speed Fest or whatever it is, and we drop into the simulator venue up there, and he's great when he jumps on it, and he does like to take the mickey out of how well I'm not.
It's all in good fun, isn't it? All in
exactly.
Good fun.
Although we say it's in good fun, it's amazing when you drop into there and you find a lot of the top pro racers are in there overnight getting some practice in on the Brands Hatch circuit on the sim before race day.
Yeah, very true. It is crazy. I was actually I did an interview earlier today with Davide Brivio, the developer at Kunos, that one of the head developers of Assetto Corsa Competizione, and we were talking about how drivers in the real world use sims as a training tool, just to get reference points for circuits, braking zones, things like that. And Alton Park was an example I used with like the dip before Cascades, where suddenly the car goes a little bit light on the brakes, and you've got the crest at Old Hall, things like that. And the accuracy that you get in these sims is just beautiful. It really is. So it was a very good chat. Now, this is an intriguing one. We're going to get single file restarts, are we? Because the lights are off on the pace car. That looked to me like they were going to go too wide, but no, they've gone single file. Sedgwick leads them then into turn 1. Jason Glenn trying to stick with Mikey Doble. It looks great with all the lights coming on here, but that seemed like a very, very subdued single file start. Nobody seemed that close to one another, did they?
No, or quite sure what they were supposed to do to some extent. There was, who's that? Is that Burks?
Werrell's
no, it's
off.
Mark Werrell. Oh,
Werrell's
wow.
off. We've got another yellow.
Well, I'm not surprised if he's up there. But why? They were lapping him already, so
I think
that must have been before the restart.
Yeah, I think he's had an issue as they... Oh, something... It's not repaired itself. It's definitely not repaired itself.
I hope it's not the same issue we had last time, because he kept. It was just a little glitch in the system, wasn't it, where he was dropping in and it was not replacing the damaged wheels. It's still done.
The front left is just. You can see the massive streak of rubber following it in the smoke. The front left is just.
He's going to be furious with this then, because it is a silly glitch. This one, I've got to say, unfortunately, isn't it? I mean, why would it do that? I hope he's able to get it sorted this time.
Yeah, fast repairs usually do fix stuff straight away. I'm not sure why it's...
I can't remember which circuit it was at, though. It kept coming in, and it was not changing the damaged tyre.
Yeah, I think it was the Daytona race, wasn't it, when he had that? But that's a real
Burks
shame.
is in again as well, by the way. So he was involved in that early incident.
Oh.
As is Bowman's. Oh, my word.
The glue
Bowman's and Werrell.
That was Burks with him.
Oh, was it? I thought that was a black car then.
Yeah, Burks and Bowman's it was. What have they done here then? Because they seem joined at the hip. So Bowman's goes in. Burks peels off to follow him. Bowman's is slowing down, probably just trying not to overtake the traffic still out on the track.
And it's only a 40 speed limit in the pits here, isn't it? It's a very low one.
So Burks gets alongside, or does he? Bowman's moves over, and then they just... That's very odd. That's one of the slowest and oddest incidents I've ever seen.
And I got to say, either Bowman's was going too slowly there, or Burks probably shouldn't have made a dive to the inside when the car was always going to suddenly turn left to go into his pit box.
Yeah, that's strange. And again, yeah, look, Mark's car isn't fixed. Front
really?
left. I'm not sure what's causing that, because I mean we've seen other guys. I mean Adrian Burks has had a fast repair already. His car was fine before he came in, so I'm not sure whether it's something at Mark's end that's caused that. Because you can select whether you have a fast repair or not, and people do have set keybinds that turn it on or off. I'm not sure what his situation is hardware-wise, but that's a very, very odd one indeed, because it happened to him, like you say, at previous round. So I'm not sure whether that's something at his end there, but that's really, really strange, because, yeah, I mean, Adrian Burks has had his second fast repair now. The car seems fine. Very, very odd, but very unfortunate as well for Mark Werrell. Interesting to look back and see what settings he has on to make sure we can help him out from that not happening in future. But this yellow flag period seems a bit longer than before. I'm wondering whether the sort of reappearance of those cars coming out has sort of extended it slightly here. That was an interesting blink from Aaron Smith as well, wasn't it?
Not the first time we've seen that this year, actually, from him, is it? Good news is it looks like Sedgwick's not got the problems he had last race, that he got away with largely, but we saw him blink a couple of times. But yes, I'm sure we've seen that a couple of times this year from Smith. Obviously a challenge if contention rates in your own area are causing an issue. Now, Werrell's back out again, and I'm wondering whether it has, because he did call back in again, and has now come out.
No, he's out.
Oh, out, sorry. Yeah, I see. Sorry. I was thinking out as he coming out of the pits.
Not out, but out. It's Mickey
aren't we going to do that in June, mate? Crikey.
Oh, we are indeed, mate. We are. Well, pace car lights are out. We're going to stay single file here at Richmond. We're on lap 11 of 200 at the moment. Plenty of time in this race.
Which gives us just over 150 miles on my math I worked out earlier. They're going to be dizzy by the end of this one, aren't they? Crikey.
I think we will as well, to be fair. But whether that's the racing.
I'm not drinking that fast, mate, so it's fine.
I was going to say, I'm not going for that. Alex is going for it, though. Off the line. Well, across the line. Foot down. Kenny Mitchell stuck in the middle with you at the minute. Mark Redford right behind him. Aaron Smith, he's probably, I mean, we always say how calm Aaron Smith is, but he's going to be a little bit nervous about the whole championship situation at the moment, but I imagine he knows he doesn't have to push to be right at the front and win this race.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's what I say. It's going to be interesting to see what he needs, what his mind's going to make him do. It's one of those weird ones. If you're going to win the championship, let's be honest, if you had your choice, you'd want to win it secure it with a win, wouldn't you? And he's going to have that feeling, but he's just got to play it cool, Trig. Play it cool. Quite look at that. Montgomery crabbing it into that corner, wasn't he, really? The rear end seemed to be arriving quicker than the front there, but he got it sort of tamed enough to take it around the banking. Absolutely brilliant with the red. Fryan's then a 44 just behind him. But Aaron Smith is looking interested, isn't he, on the green and white 31 car of Redford just ahead of him, but not showing his nose with any huge intention. That yellow and black number 70 car you just see on the left of your screen there. He is now looking towards the inside of Redford. Is he going to have a sneaky snifter up the inside? It's not fully committed, is it? Oh, but hitting the wall there goes Redford on the outside of him. He knew that Smith was there. That was the opportunity that he needed. Up goes Aaron Smith, taking with him by the looks of it the 14 car of Montgomery. What did you call him? The with the colour? Magenta Montgomery or something. Isn't it? He liked that, didn't he, as well? But that was just all caused, sadly, but just ever so slightly, 31 car of Redford running wide. Not massively, but it just meant he had a little sneaky tickle of the wall there, didn't he, with the sparks kicking up into the wall. Slowed him down enough for those two to just dive up the inside. So Aaron Smith's now up into 6th place, which, again, he doesn't need to do any more than this at the moment, especially when, look what's happening in front of him, is that it's an interesting tussle. We missed that. Cedric's down to 4th. And he's blinking in and out again. So my famous words about his internet being okay now, I wonder whether that's what's caused it.
This is, hang on, this is... Okay, so this is the move that Mikey Doble did to get past Alex. It's a repeat of what Alex did to him in the practice race. Not as far back or late, though, to be fair. Nice tidy stuff from Mikey Doble. And then we'll keep our eye on Cedric, because with him being on that outside line, I think he's going to get freight trained here. It's very easy to do on a track like this, or is he just going to... Seems quite tidy at that point, doesn't he?
Yeah. I do like that burgundy and black.
Yeah, it suits it, doesn't it? It's quite an aggressive-looking car in its own right, a bit subdued. But this was... I mean, we're still on replay, of course, but he has a blink
there he
out.
Goes. He blinks. Oh, no, he's okay there. It's still left him there. But it's going to throw him, and of course Jason Glenn's done well to not react to that. He'll have been just there sort of up behind him and seen that car blink out then blink in again, and you never know quite where it's going to come back again. That's the challenge. That has thrown Alex. Look at him. He's out the groove, isn't he? That's all that looked like to me. Yeah,
Jason just puts his nose down the inside. Alex, I'd imagine, was just thinking, let's not let him run wide into me. As we've got a yellow flag. Marcel Freinzehner is around.
Oof.
I saw him dropping down on the right-hand side. Not quite sure what caused that. Kenny Mitchell has now got past Alex as well. So he is dropping. Oh, looks like Justin Nair and Adrian Burks. Adrian puts it down the inside. Oh, just a little tiny touch on Justin Nair.
Tree was never going to go, was it?
No, it was a bit ambitious from Adrian Burks, maybe a little bit impatient, but I mean, you can't blame him for seeing the gap and going for it, because look, maybe a bit of a tap. He tries to get in there. Very close together, but...
A lot more speed, isn't it? Of course, I'd imagine he's on the fresher rubber, isn't he? Because he's been in.
Well, that's a real shame, that is. And something else that was a shame, of course, was what happened to our good mate Mark Werrell joins us in the box. Mark, that's such a shame to see it, mate, but it's not the first time you've had that this season, is it? Chris and I were saying.
No, and I have no idea why. Hi, Chaz. Hi, Chris.
Hello, mate.
Really, really unfortunate. It was the first incident. Absolutely was my fault. I saw James Montgomery coming through, thought I was going to turn down him, but left him room. And as a result, I then tagged the car ahead. So I brought out the yellow, but it was a light touch. So I came in and took some optional repair because I could see there was damage to the bonnet area, and it did exactly the same as it did at Daytona. As soon as I got back out on the track, the car felt very differently. I hit the brakes, and as soon as I hit the brakes, from a driver's perspective, the car turned sharp right instantly. So I came back in again, stayed there for the optional repairs, and again, as I came back out, the same thing again. And I'm guessing from your perspective, it looked the same. One of the wheels wasn't rotating.
Yeah, just no rotation at all. Just looked like the bodywork was sort of like pushed down onto it. And it was crumpled in. It was really strange. And I mean, I was saying that, you know, I usually, with stuff like that, when we get these strange glitches that happen, it's usually down to something in the server that has sort of gone awry. But, I mean, Adrian, who was involved as well, he came in and he's had a fast repair and that's worked. I was confused by that because, like I say, usually when something does happen like that, it's server-wide. It's not just down to one driver.
Really, really strange. Yeah, it's a standard setup that we all use, and all I do is adjust the brake bias and the steering ratio, which is the same as everybody does. So I think I've just, it's been one of those. It's been a real character. Everybody talks about it. It's been a character-building season for me. I've thoroughly enjoyed the Vertex series. Thank you to you and Chris and Alex and everybody behind it, and all the drivers I've been racing with. I've just at no point had any luck. Some of it's been as a result of my own fault and my own inexperience. Other times it's been typical racing. I've been in the wrong place at the wrong time, but it's been absolutely superb. And the Dirty Dicks Chevrolet, thanks for their support. I got my crabs at Dirty Dicks, by the way. Has been superb these last two. That's what it says on the rear quarter panel, guys. It was a trading paint scheme, but I thought it'd be fun. So yeah, thanks to Dirty Dicks for their support, and I'm hoping to get some more racing in with the Dirty Dicks Chevrolet next year.
Well, we after that.
I was going to say, yeah. If go to the clinic between seasons, of course, and then we'll see you in the next one. But in all fairness, Mark, it's been great to have you on track this season. And even though the results haven't gone your way, it's good to hear that you've still enjoyed it. Because at the end of the day, that's why we're all here, isn't it? Sim racing is a very enjoyable thing to have.
I've got to say, we were saying it in the briefing. I think we're not going green just yet, are we?
No, we've got another lap.
No. We were saying it in the briefing. That the guys that have been here since season 1 have said this is one of the friendliest championships they've been in. Well, it's the first online series that I've been in, and whilst on occasions I felt a little bit hard done by, I'm sure other drivers have been felt hard done by a couple of things that I've done, but there's not any malice. The driving standards are superb, and we all help each other out. It's been great fun. So good luck to whoever lifts the championship crown. So enjoy the race, guys. I'll leave you be because we're going to go green.
Thanks very much, Mark. Pleasure to speak to you as always, mate. We'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Cracking stuff there from Mr. Werrell.
Such a shame.
I know, it's honestly, it is such a shame that it happened to him. It couldn't happen to a nicer bloke, could it, really, with the bad luck.
I wouldn't go that far, mate. I work with him enough to abuse him. He abuses me every damn time. So. With his dirty dicks.
Oh, God. Here we go. Then 88 and 55. Mikey Doble leads the way at Richmond. And then Jason Glenn and Brian Crowles, don't forget, 2nd and 3rd in the championship. These two going side by side for this now. Alex Sedgwick wants to get back up the order and to the front. But Kenny Mitchell, he's having to fight with Aaron Smith, James Montgomery, Mark Redford, and just about everybody else. He's actually gained 5 places in this race so far as James Montgomery, so highest mover in the field. And all the sparks in the world coming from Aaron Smith's car as he scrapes along the barrier. We know you can't push your luck with that, don't we, mate?
Well, quite absolutely. I mean, we've seen a fair few of them doing it. That's what shows how challenging this is even the best are doing it. That's Sedgwick still. Oh no, that's 58 this time. Murphy was blinking in and out badly. I know that there's been a few issues, hasn't there, online in general at the moment, denied by the powers that be. But it certainly looks a challenge because we saw Sedgwick doing it a little bit earlier. But what a restart by Brian Crowles there. I know that David DeMay is online, evening David, and he's obviously cheering for his mate Brian Crowles. And that was a fabulous restart, straight past Jason Glenn and glued to the back of Mikey Doble. He's got that thing hooked up beautifully.
He has indeed. The big bald eagle American flag track velocity racing car on it at the moment. And again, it's another standout performance from Mikey Doble so far. We may only be 30 laps in, but we do know how well Mikey does on these slower circuits or the shorter circuits. But look at this, Brian now putting his nose down the inside to maybe say, hello, I'm still here. He's the highest placed.
How did you manage to camp that up, mate? He was, hello.
I was trying to hold in a burp at the same time, won't lie. Of course, these 3 actually at the front. Apologies, Mikey. These 3 at the front of the race are separated by 1 point in the championship. So even if they finished this way, Mikey and Brian would tie on points and Jason Glenn would be 1 point behind them. So they would still all be separated by just 1 point.
Subject to the additional points that are available.
Yes, of course. Terms and conditions apply. But yeah. It really is one of those enticing evenings now, because while I know that these drivers will want to go for a move and take the lead or just have one over on the other drivers around them, they've got to think so carefully about their championship position, don't they?
They do, but I mean, look at this ebb and flow there. Is that 1 minute I was about to say that the number 9 car there of Alex Sedgwick, the boss of Vertex, or joint boss of Vertex.
Sorry, Adam.
Sorry, Adam. Got to make sure we mention Adam as well. Sorry, mate. He was there sort of having a sneaky snifter on the 55 car of Jason Glenn. And as that didn't work off and he sort of like just dropped back ever so slightly, not a lot, he's then straight into the clutches of that wonderful livery. I love that, the future, Mortgage Focus livery there, the chrome and green. Is that greeny sort of turquoise? I think it's a fabulous colour scheme there. as again Cedric just glitches out, and the only reason we knew he was there is we were seeing the sparks as he was having a kiss and a cuddle with the wall. And we've got the change at the front. Brian Crowell's into the lead.
Yeah, he has indeed. I was just about to say, once I was trying to get a hold of Alex going into the wall, but it didn't pick anything up. But Brian's just got a lovely run off 3 and 4. Mikey goes down a little bit to cover, but Brian just sticks it through the inside, and lovely stuff.
He doubled, didn't he? Really,
did.
there, considering that was the move that he did on Cedric.
He did. It was wonderfully executed. And to be fair, it hasn't slowed the pair of them up that much either. You know, you'd expect them to have been caught by Jason Glenn quite quickly in that, but he hasn't really made any ground on them. There's still a bit of a stalemate. Mark Murphy and Justin Nyer are side by side across the line again. Mark's connection seems to have stabilised a little bit from how it was before. He's suffered with glitching out and blinking since the very start of Vertex. I remember it in the very first round at Homestead, Miami. So fingers crossed he can get on the phone to his ISP and get angry at him, as I would. Jason Glenn's actually got a bit of damage on the back of that car. I think he's been under some real pressure, and this is it now coming to boiling point as Alex Cedric goes down the inside. Kenny Mitchell's watching. Aaron Smith maybe wants a piece of this as well, but look at the sparks flying. Everybody's so close to these walls, aren't they?
They're beyond close, aren't they? Crikey, it's just amazing. I know Rubbin's racing and all that. Kenny Mitchell's got the run now on the 55 car of Glenn up the inside there. Surely that's signed, sealed and delivered as he now gets up into the inside. Yes, it is. And then Glenn's got to drop down as quick as he can to stop Aaron Smith from taking 5th place away from him. But look at this. We go for the old switcheroo, is that no sooner was Glenn past, but he was making a move to try and challenge back at Kenny Mitchell. Wasn't possible. So he was just sat there. Great shot that, isn't it, from Jason Glenn there, the 55 car, looking back at the champion-elect as it stands at the moment, Aaron Smith, number 70. And he'll be delighted because, of course, that's defending the championship as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be back-to-back titles for Aaron Smith if he takes this one this evening. And whenever I mention Aaron Smith, I can just picture him just coming out of the final chicane at Zolder, absolutely sideways in that yellow and black machine. He just, there was no other way of saying he absolutely dominated last season, did Aaron Smith. The road course races were just an ultimate display of power. It was just amazing, and he has got so much talent. And you know, it's often in motorsport where people go, oh, I'd rather this person win the championship, I'd rather this person. But Aaron is such a top bloke, and he is just so talented. But it's subdued talent. You know, he's very modest. He just turns up, does what he can do, and just flies us. Look at that. Doble starting to get a little bit aggressive on the back of Brian Crowell's there.
Caution.
We've got another one out, and it's Mark Redford this time. Mark Redford was actually quite far up the order before. Him and Adrian Burks have had an issue. We've got a couple of things actually go on here. Now, Marcel Freinzane has gone off the track at some point. I think he might have lit it up too much coming into the tri-oval. Yep, that's out of shape. Oh, that's a good save to keep it out of the wall, in all fairness. There's a bit of a jump there. But then this is what caused it. Mark Murphy goes past Mark Redford. Eventually. Oh, Mark's out of shape. Oh, goes the other way. Adrian Burks gives him a tap. Oh, and as he bounces off the wall, Adrian gets caught up in it.
Yeah, as I say, Adrian's the innocent party in that one this time, wasn't he? Because the incident had already happened in front of him by the looks of that. The tap came after. He'd already overcorrected, I think. We'll see him, the rear end step out, and he overcorrects and throws the nose into the... no, he was already gone, wasn't he, to be fair?
Yeah.
And he'd have been considerably slower than the chasing pack behind him. So that was nobody's fault in terms of causing that initial spin. And they've all piled into the pits, I see. I say all, Brian Crowell and Cedric haven't. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of an odd one in terms of how that overlaps later. So here they are. Two very good friends, of course. Brian used to be on the Spanish for Alex, if I remember rightly, in the Euro NASCAR.
I think I commentated on Alex when he was doing that as well.
Yeah, indeed. The two top blokes, these guys as well. Right, good laugh. Brian is so funny, and Alex is just always on the ball, isn't he? He's honestly, I don't think I've met as many people that are as on the ball as Alex. He's just always his mind is always working. It's great.
Yeah, not just as a racing driver, but as a businessman as well.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Totally. He's just so focused. It's just great. Really
Including obviously Vertex with so many different facets to it. Whether it's the management, whether it's the experiences, the sim rigs, of course, and everything. They can hook you up fully with the complete sim rigs as well. You got to go and see their website. There's just wow, and the different web shoots off of that as well. There's so much that those guys do, and they still have time. Occasionally, I've sort of like had him and Adam call up into the commentary box to catch up with me when I've been at a circuit commentating on something that they're catching up with maybe some drivers there, and it's always good to catch up with them when the commentary box is big enough at the likes of, say, Dorrington Park and what have you. It's really good to catch up with them. I'm hoping that I'll be able to see him or them at Brands Hatch this year, and I'm hoping that it's the event we expect, because the American Speed Fest with the Euro NASCARs this year, one of my favourite events to commentate on each year, is actually on July 4th.
Oh,
how cool is that going to be?
That'll be amazing. I might, even if I've not got anything in the diary for that day, I might have to come down for that just as a spectator for the day. Be absolutely awesome. I do really want to see this machinery in the flesh as well. Obviously slightly different to these Xfinity cars, but still very much similar under the bodywork. Now Mark Murphy, who is the effective Chevrolet-shaped strobe light at the moment, he's actually gained 11 spots in this race overall, so he's having a good run, and he's actually pitted previously. He pitted on the same lap, but he only had a 5-second pit stop, so I'm thinking some of these guys may be taking tyres on one side, Freinzehner potentially doing the same. Everybody else's stops are about 14-15 seconds. I'm intrigued to see how that pans out. 2 tyres versus 4.
I mean, it is an interesting one, isn't it? What we at mid-40s in terms of lap count, and that's sort of halfway through what you can get to in terms of a set of tyre if you're being sensible with them. And let's not lose sight of the fact that, of course, we've had a good chunk of that has been under caution.
Yeah.
So I kind of get what they're trying here, I think. In the front to Krause and Sedgwick, is that they don't need to necessarily do it. But this is where we have this challenge, isn't it, really, is that we don't know until later in the race how it plays out. Safety car's in.
Indeed, we will have to wait and see, but that's the joys of it. And look at this already. Smith and Glenn absolutely mugging Marcel Freinzehner down the straight there. Poor guy. He's just been involved in that, almost involved in the incident after that spin earlier. And straight away, everybody's just piling past him, able to get the traction to the floor and get a good run out of every single corner. Now, there's Mark Murphy. Kenny Mitchell leads this charge behind him. Mikey Doble pitted as well, actually, don't forget. So he's going to have some really good, strong grip now to chase those front pen. Look at that. Yeah. I mean, grip isn't usually something you can describe with your eyes, but honestly, just look at it. Fantastic stuff. He's starting to put the pressure on, though, because he knows once the tyres start to get in a level playing field, he won't be able to do this forever. And look at that. Get on with it, Mikey Doble.
Wow, that was good driving by both of those guys there. Is that Sedgwick had to make it hard for him so that he's trying to get him to take a bit of life out of his tyres. But at the same time is that Doble didn't want to do too much too soon and sort of, be too bolshy. And Krause has made life really difficult for him, which is enabling Sedgwick to come back, and which has now enabled Kenny Mitchell to go up the inside in that number 4 car. And I hope that his team in Mortgage Focus are watching this, because they're going to be cheering him on. Pass 1, pass 2, 2 here for the price of 1. Hey, now that's a discount bargain, isn't it? 2 for.
Absolutely lovely stuff by Kenny Mitchell. Really opportunistic. Saw that door open and went, why, thank you very much. I'll go through there. Now, there's still a queue forming behind. James Montgomery's a man on a mission tonight. He's absolutely possessed. Into turns 1 and 2 he goes. Oh, I have one on me. Montgomery, 5th at the minute, gets past Aaron Smith. He's all over the back of Alex Sedgwick, and surely now, I think Mark Murphy, it might have been in the background, just hit the wall. He's going to go down the inside of Brian Crowles. He's a little bit boxed in here, but just that push off the corner when they can get the rears planted into the floor, it's just fantastic. You really do see them just ping off the corner like an elastic band, don't you, when they've got that fresh rubber on the back. 2x2 in front of Mark Redford. It's Aaron Smith. He wants to get past Brian Crowles now. This is the problem for Brian. He's been hung out to dry once, and that is it now. He's just got freight trained, doesn't he?
And it's not just that, is that you can see the difference, is that you've got to say, surely that's the wrong move for Cedric and Crowles. Two guys that, in fairness, you kind of go, well, they're going to know. So I'm still intrigued to see how it's going to play out. But whilst we were sort of going, okay, they're trying to push it on these tyres and it could be interesting at the end, they're up against all these fresh tyre shod drivers out there that, as you say, is that with your own eyes you can see the difference is monumental. You know, Kenny Mitchell just put in a new fastest lap of the race last time round of a 22.76, or that has been 22.69, and that is equaled actually by Brian Crowles that he did earlier when he was on the fresher rubber himself. So, you know, it hasn't really played out for these guys at the moment. What are they down? 6th and 7th now. This is just hard work for them. And they can't make the change now because the last thing they want to do is pit under greens.
Yeah, that's it. You can't throw away any tiny, slight piece of an advantage that you've got here. And you can't concede that your strategy hasn't worked. So
they're praying for a caution.
Yeah, they are. They are indeed. We've had a couple so far, so they really do want it. But look at this, Mikey Doble and Kenny Mitchell. Mikey Doble's mate Gary Perrin has just put, I'm not watching any more of these if you don't win this one. So no more pressure. Well, we do hope you stick around, of course, Gary. We hope you enjoy the show, mate. But yes, Mikey Doble is doing a grand job. But Kenny Mitchell, I mean, we've seen that Kenny's been quick all season. He's, in my opinion, had one of the prettiest cars on the grid. These two are probably the two best looking cars on the grid. Yeah. But Kenny's just come alive tonight, and so too, I mean, behind him, James Montgomery. He's on fire. Aaron Smith is in the place to win the championship at this stage. That's what we need to remember, because he's ahead of Jason Glenn and Brian Crowles, who are his two nearest.
He's down to 9th. Look at that. Crowles down to 9th.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
That freight train in has just got to him by the look of it. It's just, he can't defend, you know. He's got, not based on his skill. Sorry, Brian. That sounded a lot worse than I meant. But on this rubber, he just cannot defend. And, you know, him and Alex have slipped down together. But, yeah, Aaron Smith, only being 3 places behind Mikey Doble, I don't think there's enough bonus points in the world to sort that out. Because he is, I think, was it, 18 points clear? 12 points clear of Glenn and Crowles, and he's actually 13 points clear of Mikey Doble. So he's only going to lose 3, so Mikey Doble needs 10 bonus points, and that's pretty much all of them added together, isn't it? Needs a grand slam, nearly.
Yeah. Yeah, but, you know, we've seen either getting involved in other people's incidents. You know, it can happen in front of you, not just with them. It happens in front of you, and this is such a tight, compact and Beijing Mostin circuit that you suddenly, you know, they're slow. You've got nowhere to go, and he could get involved in that. He's himself has sort of made contact with the wall on the exit. So this, as we say, especially exit in turn 2, is a real challenge. I think we're going into turn 1 now, so this is where it just tightens up. Now you see you're on the banking, and then suddenly it levels up, and it really feels horrible when the car does that. You're still turning, and you've got to get that point of, right, how much do you, I say straighten up, of course these wheels will be set up to the left anyway. It's a huge challenge. So that's why even the best drivers are having a kiss and a cuddle with the wall multiple times already in the 63 laps that we've had. Yeah, and that could suddenly cost him too much, couldn't it? You never know.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, Brian sees a gap, tries to go for it, and everyone knows what Senna said. But at the end of the day, you've got to open up the corner as much as you can, take as smooth a line as you can, and carry as much speed as you can. And these guys are going to have so much more hard work trying to do that. David Van Glabeek just behind these guys now. He's got a great show going on because Brian Crowles is trying to have one over on Alex Cedric, and it looks like he has. Nearly contact, but Van Glabeek, he pitted on lap 43. The other guys ahead have not pitted yet, so considerably newer tyres on the Belgian machine.
I see that Aaron Smith and James Montgomery are do-si-doing your partners in 3rd and 4th at the moment as well. In fact, he's done it. So Smith's done it. That took a couple of goes for him to eventually do it, but he has done it. So we questioned whether he was going to bother throwing his nose where it isn't wanted. Because he doesn't need to. Well, we've got our answer, mate. He's prepared to go out with as big a bang as he can possibly get if he's going to clinch this championship tonight.
It's a certain sort of drive that you need from somebody like Aaron Smith, and he just manages.
Well, just noticed that Murphy's out, by the way, 58. He's obviously called it quits with his Tinternet.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys, I mean, as we were saying before, you know, it's one of the friendliest leagues I've ever seen. You know, all the guys really do get on. They all help one another out. A lot of the time, if you are blinking a lot like that, unfortunately, you just have to concede sometimes that it may be ruining the race for others. It may be a bit difficult to race against you, and it can cause issues with netcode and multiple other things. So potentially the guys have just said, Mark, it's really bad tonight, mate. You know, could you either sort of pull out of the way and play it safe and see if it sorts itself out, or you might have to just park it. And unfortunately, it looks like the latter. So if your name's Mark, it's not been a tremendous evening so far. I really, really do worry for our mate Mark Redford in 6th position as things go. And would you say Marcel is Belgian? Sorry, the German.
I was thinking that. Yeah, I do.
I was going to say, someone called me Carlos once and just said that's because it's the Spanish version of Charles. And okay, but yeah, I didn't need to know it at the time. I didn't ask, but yeah, these two are still going at it though, aren't they? Lovely stuff. Van Glabeek has gone ahead of Sedgwick. Oh, he goes deep into
he's got past
one.
both of them, hasn't he? Then Van Glabeek, fair play. He's leapfrogged them both. These two are going to be laughing. You can just know that these two are having a right old giggle.
That's the thing.
Especially as they've worked together, as you say, you know, one driving and the other on the spanners. And Krause, I'd love to see Krause behind the wheel at Speedfest, to be honest with you. That'd be brilliant. But they're having a whale of a time there, and I can genuinely imagine them both giggling like blooming schoolgirls on their sim rigs at the moment, having a whale of a time back there.
Oh, that's one of the beautiful things of it. You know, you get to race against people that you know and your mates in what is a really competitive environment, but at the same time, you can have so much fun with it. It's phenomenal. It really is. And the iRacing platform is one of the very best at doing that, because it is all managed in a way that the racing is fair. It's regulated in very similar ways to it is in the real world, but obviously transformed into the digital age, let's say. But it is the fact that it gives you the most realistic racing. Like, there's never really been a way to describe what it is that iRacing has over other sims, but just the racing is more realistic because of how the cars behave, because of how you see everybody else's cars behaving, and how it broadcasts. It broadcasts very naturally. And this is another prime example of this tonight from our side, and obviously from their side as well. Like you say, they'll be absolutely loving it. And someone else that'll be loving it is Jason Glenn, who's suddenly found some pace and closed up on the back of Montgomery.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we've been watching the ebbs and the flows and the ducks and the dives and the you know, whatever else I can think of. They've been back and forth. And that's the beauty of it. You do have to keep the patience. That includes Sedgwick and Krause. They're going to be furious that they've dropped back there. They're having some fun amongst themselves, but back in 9th and 10th is not where they expect it to be. They kind of go, okay, do you know what? That hasn't worked. But let's be patient. There's a lot of strategy yet to be played out. A lot of incidents probably yet to be played out. We're not even half race distance yet, so they just play it cool, Trig, and see. It's all about the last sort of 10, 20 laps in reality that really will give us a better idea of what's likely to happen.
Yeah, it's all about when that final pit stop comes as well. If there is a final yellow or a sort of a yellow within the last, say, 40 laps, you know, do people come in just at the end of quite a long run and make it work? I mean, if you consider at the moment, Krause and Sedgwick have done 76 laps on those tyres.
Close, isn't it? They're looking odds on at the moment to make it even worse for themselves of having to pit under greens unless they're lucky in the next 10 laps.
Yeah, it's going to force their hand, isn't it? It's at some point very soon.
That's going to be huge on this circuit. Think about it, 3/4 of a mile, and they're going to come in and if they've got to make a stop under green. That's going to be huge for them.
Well, that's it. I mean, looking at the pit lane time alone, you're looking anywhere between 47 and 50 seconds. Now, that's least two laps. Yeah.
Wow.
Because they're doing, even on tyres that are now, 30, 40 laps old, they're still doing 23s. So that is at least 2 laps for these guys. So they will absolutely, they'll definitely feel that when they're crawling down the pit lane. As Jason Glenn's gone to the inside of James Montgomery, looks like Montgomery went a little bit hot into turns 1 and 2. Glenn is alongside, and we've seen this before. It's not easy to hold out their fireworks show, which we'll have at the end as well. We will get fireworks this evening. I'll try and get a camera on it at some point. But, yeah, James Montgomery and Jason Glenn, gorgeous shot there down the tri-oval.
Franzen has pitted.
Oh, yeah, Marcel into the pit lane. Just gets it stopped. He's there somewhere. There he is. Just getting it stopped. Now, Gary Perrin saying, having never had a go on a rig, does running in clear air give your tyres an easier time? It just depends on how hard you push the car, really. Yeah, you can easily overwork them trying to get away from somebody as well as trying to overtake somebody, can't you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, in reality, and the reason I say it should is that I can't profess to being an expert on the physics and whatnot that are in these, but as you were saying, it's so good. There's every chance that it should make things better in fresh air. Even down to basics is that to some element is that you're able to get the slipstream effect that will sort of help you gain some speed. But so suddenly, I think we saw it from Montgomery there in the magenta number 14 that. He suddenly went in just that little bit too hot into the corner, and a lot of that will have been the fact that he's there stuck behind. He's not necessarily got quite as good a view, and he's been sucked into that corner at a better speed than he'd be able to do in clean air. And then suddenly he's just ripping a bit of life out of that tyre again as he's suddenly going a bit more sideways through that corner as he would like to be able to do. So, yeah, I would say fresh air's got to be better as long as it's accurate on this.
Yeah, and
it normally is.
Yeah. Oh, it is really, really good. The tyre model in iRacing is very sensitive to heat, but at the same time, the overall way it's modelled is really good, and you still get the same sort of consensus of what happens to it under certain scenarios. Like you say, working it in fresh air would be easier. It just depends on how hard you push it. If someone is really pushing to get away because they need to open up a gap, you can very easily overwork a tyre and start shredding it up. Now, someone that is shredding up the time at the moment is Mikey Doble. He's consistently 0.2 a lap quicker than Kenny Mitchell. He's now 1.7 seconds ahead.
Kenny must have made a mistake somewhere. Drop that far back, though.
To be fair, though, lap times Kenny's close to his best time every single lap, but Doble's just going a good he's a second off. I saw 0.6 and thought it was the same. But again, there, at tenth and a half.
Nearly 2 seconds. And we're only talking 2 or 3 tenths.
It's only
in at last.
It's been 10 laps.
So, it means that but that's happened in the last lap or two. So he's made a mistake somewhere. But obviously it's not cost him too much. And I think by the looks of it, it probably just slowed Aaron Smith down a little bit.
Yeah, Aaron's, 2.9 seconds off them now. There's Sedgwick on his way in. Interesting that Krauls has tried to give it another lap at least. Wow, now that was sideways by Kenny. That could have been.
Yeah, he's looking loose, isn't he?
Yeah, maybe overworking the rears.
Again. Yeah, maybe because he did sort of push hard to get himself up into that second and all over the back of Doble. And I just get the feeling that car's loose. Now, he could regain a bit of life into those tyres, I believe, because of the fact that tyres, the talk is what we're talking about, 86, 87 laps that Sedgwick managed to do. You're able to get a good chunk, but look at that. That is so loose, isn't it? Even on the way out, look, as he's trying to get the noise pedal down, it's struggling like mad. So he's obviously pushed it for a few too many laps to a too high a level, and it's compromising dramatically. He's now
2.9
nearly
behind.
3 seconds back. Wow, and look at this. He's into the clutches of champion-elect.
Yeah, another 2.
It goes to show how challenging this is, doesn't it?
Yeah, oh god, yeah, definitely. It's you're always on the edge in these cars, and he is just drifting it out of every corner now. That the right rear will be starting to get very, very shredded. There's Krauls coming out, speaking of shredded tyres. But, 2 laps and he lost another 1.1 seconds there, and that gap has just absolutely exploded. Aaron Smith working his way up to the back of him now is a very interesting prospect in itself. Kenny not really in the championship fight, but he's still been doing very, very well this season as Kenny. He's 7th in the championship, 176 points.
Well, think about it, and there were similarities between this circuit and Iowa being drawn. And, of course, at Iowa, he got a podium. He came in 3rd position there. So you'd not be surprised to see him suited here. Yeah, so it really was a struggle. It wasn't just an optical illusion.
No,
now, could it have been... It doesn't look like it's damage that's caused that. It can only be tyres, surely.
Yeah, it looks like there's a tiny...
And Glenn's in as well.
It looks like there's a tiny dint in the front right, but not really enough to hurt the car that badly. I think he has... the way that he got through and caught up to Mikey Doble was very, very quick. I think it has, like you said, I think it's just been that run to the front that has hurt him. Now, Sedgwick... He's on his 90th lap of the race, but Mikey Doble's on his 92nd, so while it's all well and good that Alex is now out there on fresh rubber, he needs to make this count in the clear air, doesn't he, Chris? Because he needs to make sure any sort of gap or any difference between them is negated in these next few laps.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, Jason Glenn and Kenny Mitchell, of course, they've come in for their second stop. So with those guys, that's worked out well. He's now splitting that pair, actually. You see, he's come out. Kenny Mitchell's just in front of him as he came out, and Jason Glenn's behind him in the 55 car. Bauman's, although that's Kenny Mitchell about to put some laps on Bauman's and Adrian Burke's there. Oh, careful, mate. Don't go too damn buster in that one. So with those guys, that's worked, but it really comes down to what the likes of Mikey Doble, Aaron Smith, James Montgomery, Mark Redford, Justin Nyer's done well. Don't forget he has got a victory this season as well as Justin Nyer. Where was it he won?
Daytona.
Daytona, yeah. So a little bit different of an oval. There's Crowles. That's not for position as much as he wishes it was, because he's back in 11th place, unfortunately for Brian. But again, you called it earlier, is that you can actually see the difference that you get from the fresh rubber.
Yeah, it does make a massive difference, especially it's just the mid-corner, getting it slowed down isn't too different, but it's just the speed that you can carry in the corner, how much you need to slow it down. It's Justin Nyer gets a little bit out of shape there. Sideways indeed. Last time he pitted was lap 43, so he's done over 50 laps on these tyres now as well. Highest place driver, excuse me, and has pitted recently is Kenny Mitchell, who's just done the purple time, 22.647. Look at that, there's that visual difference as he goes past David Van Klebeek like he's in a different class of car. Beautiful stuff for Kenny Mitchell, Cam-E Motorsports. But again, is he pushing these tyres too hard early on in his stint, Chris? Or does he just think, right, stuff it, I'm going to go for it, and then try the undercut by pitting earlier than people?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it certainly sounds like they've got the tyre count that means they can rip through it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the optimum strategy. I mean, look at this way. You've got the two different strategies. Sedgwick pitted later, and it looked like it was working okay because Kenny Mitchell and Jason Glenn in the 55 there had to come in, and he was splitting them. But even just those few laps that you can see that Glenn is faster than Sedgwick at the moment.
Yeah, he's
reeled them in.
There's only 6 laps difference in the tyre life as well. Wow. Yeah, I mean, Alex was in on lap 84, Jason Glenn lap 90.
Let's not forget, of course, Alex, he's a wily old dog, if I'm allowed to say that to the boss. He could be kind of going, look, I mean, he's moved out of the way there. He's going, that's fine. I'm not pushing my tyres too hard. That was a deliberate move in my book by Alex.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether he wants to just follow Jason for a little bit and just have somebody to tow him along maybe. He knows he's got more pace, and as we said before, you don't have to work the tyres that much. Montgomery's on the way in there at the bottom of the shot.
Give him his proper name.
Magenta Montgomery. On his way to the pits. I'm sure I rolled it into one word, but I can't remember for the life of me what it is, and I don't want to get this stream demonetised. Montgomery, though, he's been having a really strong race so far. Mikey Doble's still out front. First position.
I think you just said Magenta Monty, to be honest. But
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it might have just been Monty. Yeah. Bless him. Some good moves through the field, though. I mean, David Van Klebeek, we saw Justin Nyer go past him before, but David Van Klebeek has gained 8 spots at the minute. He last pitted on lap 43 as well. Kenny Mitchell is the highest place driver that's pitted. We'll show you that on the left. Adrian Burke's 4 stops, though, including the 2 during the yellows before. Obviously, that did get levelled out slightly by further yellows. But what a good drive it's been from him so far. It's all about just getting back on that horse and cracking on in it.
It is, and I mean, it's interesting that I was there sort of like suddenly looking of who was that ahead of them. It was Redford, I think, the 31 car, and I was suddenly going, oh, they come up challenge. It's like, no, that's a lap difference, and so you've basically got to just shut your mind down, have a degree of awareness of where the cars that are ahead and behind you are to know how much of a fight to put up. But you've got to have your own race, haven't you?
Yeah, that's it. You need to be able to sort of separate yourself from some of the other battles that are going on. You know, you really have to have your wits about you, if anything. But
Well, you know, which Redford clearly had there. He kind of went, well, I don't need to fight against Sedgwick. He's a lap down. So that's the third place car, the 31 of Mark Redford, has now been unlapped by Sedgwick. So Sedgwick has gone ahead of him, but still Doble and Smith are ahead of him, so it means he's still a lap down. But Redford kind of went, well, what's the point in fighting with him? There's just no need to. The more interesting one there was the fact that Sedgwick didn't put up a fight with Jason Glenn. Now, it could be, in fairness, let's not lose sight of another element there, is that he doesn't want to get involved in the sort of top 4 championship fight.
yeah, that's very true. He's thinking bigger picture there. And I mean, it was part of the driver's briefing, wasn't it, earlier, that, you know, on both sides they need to be careful that if they are involved with somebody that is in the championship fight, maybe just be considerate towards that. But at the same time, you know, you're all still racing one another, and things happen. We know that better than most with the amount of stuff that we've both covered. You know, you get incidents in motorsport, but if you just give them that bit more respect and a bit more care, they're having a bit of a separate fight. And if you're not in the championship battle, I mean, put it this way, if you had £1 for every time that you'd been commentating on a championship decider and somebody that's not involved in the fight got involved and potentially changed the outcome of it, how many quid
I'd be
would you
loaded,
have?
mate.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it happens a lot because it's racing, isn't it, at the end of the day? You know, it's not somebody else's duty to let someone win a championship, but it does seem to attract a bit of drama at the end of the season, doesn't it?
No, exactly right. And, you know, I've had all sorts of examples where you've even got people that are in sort of like non-championship cars. So not just they're not in the fight, they're in sort of like guest class or guest car or something.
Yeah.
But, you know, they paid their money. They're entitled to get involved in the fight. So it's one of those interesting dynamics. Look at the closing stage even of the last race when Mikey Doble was closing down on Sedgwick in the final stages. And I forget who it was, but a backmarker didn't let him past easily because the back marker was on the fresher rubber. And so it was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Completely back off and then be coming back at you again? It's a hard one to do. In comes our leader.
Yeah, Mikey Doble then finally on pit road. He's in there somewhere. But Aaron Smith has now taken the lead, albeit temporarily, you might think, because the longer he stays out on those tyres, the more that they are going to be screaming blue murder, to be fair. But we've seen Aaron manage tyres really well before, haven't we? Because we've had moments where we've gone, you know, Aaron's not really, you know, he's not lighting the timing screens on fire at the moment. But then, come the end of the race, he's looked after the tyres that well that he's just able to just stay out for longer and make the most of it. It's just great. It really is. And to be fair, I'm even surprised at the fact that we've flown through the halfway point of this race so quickly. There goes Jason Glenn unlapping himself. He's in 6th position at the moment. So just to show you, everybody, there are the positions on track. So we've got a very even spread of the field. 10th place James Montgomery is right behind Ivan Bauman's on track, but not for position. So a lot of them are all spread out over different parts of their own strategies. But this is now for position between Alex Sedgwick and Mikey Doble. Sedgwick pitted on lap 84, Doble on lap 109. So Doble on much fresher rubber. He's able to get one over on him. A little bit of a contact there mid-corner. Oh, we won't be happy with that. If they were real headlights, they'd be flashing away right now. Don't really think it was anything particularly naughty for him, Alex. But Mikey gets the run off the corner. And back down the inside he goes. I can bet, though, Mikey will be wanting to just get away as quickly as possible there. He's got Marcel Franze slightly out of shape in front of him. Down the inside he goes, though. And through and away he will be. But Aaron Smith is only just ahead of those two. Still on the very, very used rubber from lap 43. So nearly 100 laps on this. And it's crazy. It really is. Lap 115 of this race.
Well, it goes to show you, you know, Doble there is only just behind Aaron Smith on the circuit again to unlap himself, with Sedgwick now with him, so they'd be back onto that lead lap. And Smith, judging from the others, he's going to have to pit soon as well, isn't he? I mean, look at the difference there. Doble's just going to go absolutely flying, so this puts him back onto that lead lap again, albeit he's down in 7th, because I'd already noticed that Jason Glenn was back on that lead lap as well. Sedgwick then crowds just behind him. That's where this whole thing is, that you've got to be patient, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what it was with Mikey Doble a moment ago. You know, that tiny tap on Alex Sedgwick was just, he knew he had the grip to put it down there. I just don't think he expected that much of a difference for what Alex could manage, and it's easy to do.
Catch that. We've been on board, haven't we, with some of these where you kind of from the outside it looks weird that they've done that, and then you're on board and you got yourself in that thing, you got your pedal to the metal, you're going along, and then suddenly the car that's filling your windscreen in front of you is considerably slower as you go into the to the braking zone. You're like, wow, where do I go? What am I going to do? You suddenly jink to the left. You've now thrown your whole strategy going into that corner out. You possibly, you know, not only out of shape, but you've maybe missed your own braking point by now, and so you're on the edge of out of control all the way through the banking, and potentially running up wide, as we saw, into the car that's now on your outside. So it's just intriguing. This is for position.
It is indeed. Mikey Doble, 19 laps newer tyres than Jason Glenn, and there is the difference. Goodbye sunshine. Mikey Doble really made those tyres work before, but this is the thing now. When Jason Glenn comes back in, he's going to have to reel him in again. So we've got some very interesting overlaps here of who pitted when, who said what, he said, she said, because Adrian Burke's just in front of these two. He pitted on lap 45. Now that's half of the length that Jason Glenn... Sorry, he's done twice the length of what Jason Glenn has done on those tyres. And now Mikey Doble's gone through after doing another 19 laps less than Jason. So this is interesting because this is a visual representation of those three different, I wouldn't call them three different strategies at this point, but just three different sort of timings in these guys' races that are all sort of culminating together in a couple of laps where they all get by one another. It's very, very interesting indeed.
Yeah, because some of that was enforced to some extent with Adrian Birch, wasn't it? He was involved in a couple of moments early on, and he'll have probably sort of rolled the dice whilst in, you know, getting repairs anyway. So it's kind of worked out very different for him. I know we had a lot of cautions in the early stages, but we're back to what we've seen for the majority of this season, really, is a lot of green flag running, haven't we? That was quite unusual to have so many cautions for these guys for most of this season. And so it means that it's kind of unravelled for a couple of them, I think, in theory at least, that they've had to pit under the greens. Now, it could work itself out because it's like, okay, so some of them are going to have to pit with maybe sort of like 40, 50, 60 laps left. Who's that?
Aaron Smith.
Aaron Smith. Okay, yeah, so that's not surprising. So, yeah, they're going to have 40, 50. I mean, is he going to be able to go? He might just about be able to make this his final stop, you know. But he's going to have to play it steady. And I would imagine he will, because he doesn't need to win the race, does he?
No, that's very true. I think it'll depend on where he finds himself later on. Adrian Birks has actually come in as well, so he's decided that the tyres have had enough. There's only two drivers out there now that pitted before lap 45, and that is Mark Redford and David Van Glebeek, first and third.
You imagine, right, is that if the likes of, say, Sedgwick and Krause, who sort of like rolled that, what looked at the time a very odd dice to throw of staying out when everyone else came in, and it certainly didn't work for them in that sector, if they are able to stretch this one out, and it looked to me like Alex was being very deliberately managing his tyres, as Redford's now clearly coming in, and Van Beek, and they could suddenly pit with, like, I don't know, for argument's sake, like 20 laps left to go. There ain't going to be any tyre conserving then, and we've seen on this circuit how much speed difference they can have if they've got fresh rubber for that last 20 laps. It would be well worth the roll of the dice there if they can stretch them to that point, whereas these guys, I mean, see, Doble's an interesting one, isn't he? Because he's been in again. He might be able to keep it going, but he's not going to be at optimum speed at the end of the race. So there's just so much still to happen in this race. It's unbelievable.
It's fantastic. This is the part of this sort of racing that I've loved, and I truly mean loved being introduced to. You know, I watched a little bit of NASCAR here and there a few years ago, but could never properly follow it in terms of it being broadcast over here in the UK. And I mean, getting involved in iRacing, I tried my hand at a bit of it. It turns out I wasn't too bad at it, but I didn't really have a community to get involved with that I could easily find. You know, I know there are massive communities within iRacing, but you know, I wasn't confident enough at that point to just go and find it. But I mean, the strategy involved in it is just wonderful. I absolutely love it. I mean, I think in honesty, Alex and Brian have actually pulled a masterstroke, because he pitted 6 laps before the cars ahead of him, which isn't too much of a difference. Brian was 4 laps
for their first time, and it was their second time.
Yeah, exactly. So, while they may have lost time in the long run, they're still 4th and 5th in this race, and it's sort of leveled itself out a bit now because of how close together their pit stops were. The latest pit stop is, of course, Aaron Smith. Apologies, it's not. It's Mark Redford and David Van Glebeek on lap 125. But Aaron Smith pitted on lap 123, and he's currently a second a lap faster. Let's just check the current times. 1.2 seconds quicker than Brian Crowell's ahead of him.
He is absolutely flying now, which is exactly what we'd expect to see. But, if he's going to make this last, I think it was just under 80 laps at the point he stopped that he would be needing to make them last. And I know we were sort of saying that in the practice races they were able to stretch it to 80, 85 laps, but that means he's going to be at the top echelons of that, whereas you've got to assume that there is a chunk of cars that are going to be stopping again before the end of this race.
There will be, indeed.
And they're going to be rapid at the end, aren't they?
Oh,
rapid.
They are. And that's the thing. It's going to be who's got the freshest tyres, but out of these two, Aaron Smith's definitely got the freshest tyres. Brian Crowell's getting held up a little bit behind Van Glebeek there, even though I think David might have gone past him on that lap, because of course he pitted very recently. So Brian unfortunately losing out there. Aaron Smith goes through, and that is literally Brian watching the championship move away from him ever further. He's still got Jason Glenn and Mikey Doble ahead of him as Aaron Smith, but based on positions, he'll only lose 2 points to Glenn and 4 points to Doble. So, in honesty, he's still in a rather comfortable position. He will push until the very end, though. This is the thing. We were saying earlier about how he might be quite calm, but we know Aaron Smith has got that pace in his pocket. He can just get it out when he needs to and just perform. It's fantastic. And I think we're seeing that again here now. He's just turned it on, and he knows what to get out of that car and when to do it.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, what's he up to now? 5th position again. He's just doing what he needs to. In fact, there you go. There's Alex Sedgwick just ahead of Van Glebeek. Van Glebeek, of course, he's making those passes, but he's running down in 10th, so he's kind of lapping himself. But Aaron Smith to Sedgwick now, that is for 4th position, and Sedgwick just knows there's nothing that he can do about that, and sensibly just lets him cleanly move through. Because in this race, and you just get to the point of going, well, there's just no point with that closing speed over defending, because you're going to take even more out of your own tyres and car and everything else.
Yeah.
The closing speed's there. There's nothing you can do about it. It is the rubber. Sedgwick, I think, is going to pit before the end of this. Smith, I don't think will. So that's why I say it's just intriguing. We could still see that Sedgwick is, going to do something very, very different. Is he? There we go. Okay, so what's that? That's 63 laps to go. He's not going to be able to go full out, is he?
No, he's still going to stretch them, but I think he's waiting for a yellow. I think he's expecting just... some of these drivers are going to get to a point where they do start pushing these tyres more and more over the course of their run, and people start losing it, and people have a mistake here and there. They're not all that close together in terms of battling. I mean, the closest cars on track at the moment are Jason Glenn and Aaron Smith, actually, are 1.7 seconds apart. Everybody else is over 2 seconds, really, despite fluctuation, of course. But I think they're just expecting somebody to just get a bit over keen, light up the rears off that banking that you mentioned before, Chris, that Mikey Doble's just going over now, and it'll just cause a yellow. We've seen some very sensitive yellows this season, and then we've seen moments where there's been a big incident and no yellow come out. So I think they're just banking on there being another one, because we had, 3 very early on.
Well, that's Crowell's in as well, so that was the key too, wasn't it? Sedgwick and Crowell's, they were sort of like, a lap or two split when they did eventually come in, Sedgwick first, then Crowell's, and they've done exactly the same thing again now, haven't they? So 60 laps. I mean, look, they're going to have a much greater speed to these guys. I still have a sneaking suspicion that Doble may come in for another stop yet, as well. That's
yeah.
For me.
I think if he wants to keep his pace as good as it is, I mean, he's 9.5 seconds clear of Kenny Mitchell. obviously we know that's not going to be turned around by a pit stop, but you know how quick he is going to be when he does get fresh rubber on again, and it's whether you can make that back up, because even if you're a second a lap faster, you know, you'd need 50 laps to the end to make back 2 laps, and you know that you're not going to be an entire second a lap faster for 50 laps. So the maths for me right now says that Doble, if he wants to win this race, he needs to try and stay out. If there's a yellow, everybody will come in, because it'll be a big reset button, and then we'll have a fantastic sprint to the end of this championship. But I think that he may pit if he starts to really struggle.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? And I've changed, because normally I'd be there cheering for everyone else so I can get an extra pint. But I'll be honest and say Doble deserves this. Is that he's just been an absolute stalwart in so many ways, not just driving, but his general support. And again, obviously, thank you to Lucky Wheels for getting involved in this as well. Sponsored the last couple of races and still sponsoring his car with that fantastic livery. And he deserves it. He's just been knocking on the door the whole time and really looked as though he could get the win last time. I said that he's the one that's probably impressed me the most this season, outside of Aaron Smith, because his consistency has been 3rd, 4th, 5th, 3rd, 4th, 2nd, and he's sat leading at the moment. They're just the one that's eluded him. I mean, that is just, for me, monumental.
It is, and again, coming back to how he turned it around, I mean, the race that we had last season at Montreal, you know, he pulled out a blinding result in that one that, in no disrespect to Mikey, we didn't expect. You know, he'd struggled with the cars a little bit early on, but he's just turned it round to not just have the odd good result, but he's just consistently up there. And like I say, Lucky Wheels with that absolutely wonderful looking car. Really is a tasty bit of kit. I was very, very pleased for him to ask me to do some screenshots and a bit of video footage of that car in the sim, and it's just beautiful, really is, and it looked good on victory lane, I'll tell you that much. Aaron Smith, we just looked at there, was getting past Jason Glenn for 3rd position. There's 33 laps difference between the tyres on those cars, so that is quite the difference compared to some of the others. And now he's going to go past Kenny Mitchell as if he's not there and take 2nd place, which I'd be pretty confident in saying is you'd be very hard pushed not to beat him in the championship now, even if you are Mikey Doble. Oh!
No, agreed.
Freinzane is having a bit of an excursion here. Not sure what's caused this, but we'll have a look. Is it the same as last time, do you reckon, Chris?
He looks it, doesn't he? He's going to overcorrect, but thankfully to the infield rather than the wall. Yeah, it's... if you're going to do it... Oh, and he's done all right there again, hasn't he? And I think he was just trying to avoid the jump this time, wasn't he?
Yeah, indeed. He is coming in, though, so it's clearly done something to the front left. He did get a bit of a side-on smack to the wall, and you and I both know that that can sometimes do more damage than hitting it head-on. Really, it's a massive impact to the entire body rather than just one end of it. Adrian Birks has had a big impact to the car as well earlier as... Oh! Was that... I think Kenny Mitchell had another scary moment coming into the pit lane there, you know. Let's have a look. I saw a bit of smoke, I think. Guess it slowed down. No, I was clearly seeing things. My cataracts are playing up. But in fairness, though, Kenny needed fresh rubber, didn't he? He's had a bit of a tough last few laps after losing the lead as well. Losing 2nd place to Aaron Smith. That was probably the definite confirmation that he needed to say, oh, come on, mate, pit.
Well, yeah, and it's going to be interesting. And 48 laps, it still means that he's going to be sort of nursing the rubber at the end of the race, I think. But, you know, as we've seen from Kenny, he likes to go all out, doesn't he? And we're going to enjoy the next sort of like 10, 20 laps for him, that's for sure. And he's going to really charge after them. Doble now is still 12 seconds ahead of Aaron Smith, but is lapping... Oh, he's only about 1/4 of a second to half a second a lap slower with that sort of 11 and a half seconds. So he's doing all right so far, isn't he? But if he's going to pit under green, he's going to lose all of that. But you then say, well, he's going to be flying. I mean, that's the thing, is if a caution's going to come out, it's going to change the dynamic completely, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And we've seen this before where one tiny little detail or even just a bit of traffic. I mean, we've seen some of these drivers have some fantastic strategies, but if they get a bit of an overlap and they end up behind somebody on track, that can hold them up and will really ruin their race. It'll mean that the strategy doesn't work. They don't get a leapfrog on someone. And that's, again, I absolutely adore this sort of racing for that. It's so intriguing to watch, and it's often overlooked. You know, everybody just goes, oh, it's just turning left for 2 hours or an hour and a half, and it's so much more than that. It really annoys me when people say that, even about Formula One, but, you know, in this form of racing, it looks a lot more simple. You know, oh, we've got a yellow. We've got a yellow flag. Who on earth has brought...
No, it popped up as well that Dawes was going to the pit, so I'm wondering whether he's had a moment.
Yeah, he's actually got contact in the rear there. Damage to the back of the car. What on earth has gone on here? Has he lost it? Oh, Brian. Oh, Brian was coming...
He was coming in.
Yeah, he was, and Brian spun him around.
Dawes was coming in.
I suppose you
and
could...
he's missed the pit in.
You could say that's a freebie, though, in all honesty, because everybody's going to pit now, aren't they, surely?
Yeah, but that's going to compromise him, really, because then it means he's not got the advantage, although he's in the lead. But look, it's that closing speed again, is that he's slowed down for this tricky pit entrance. Clearly he was about to go onto fresh rubber, and sadly is that Crowell's just been completely caught out by that. Smith in as well. Look at this. Wow, this is intriguing. We've got just over 40 laps left to go. A reasonable number. They're not all coming in, though, are they?
No, there's quite a few of them staying out there. I reckon that they're just trying to make these tyres last to the end, although there's only
Kenny's only just come in, don't forget, and he's at the front of behind the safety car as it stands at the moment, albeit that he then needs to come round and get past them, which he's probably not going to do. This is intriguing.
No, he won't. Kenny won't. He's, two of them in on lap 149, Kenny Mitchell and Ivan Bauman's. Justin Nyer just going past these guys.
Smith jumped him.
Smith's done him as well. Oh, that's just so Mikey Doble. I keep saying if Mikey didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. And the contact that involved him.
He's got to calm down now, hasn't he? I can imagine that he's spitting feathers, and I'm sure he's got some of his BMW racing mates watching this. I hope they are anyway. And you know, he'll be there absolutely fuming, and legitimately so. And in fairness, I'd imagine Krause is there sort of like hugely apologetic about that one. And it's what we were explaining earlier, is that there's nothing deliberate in that. Is that you're there focused on your points and the car in front and what impact that's going to have, etc., etc., and then you suddenly go charging in and suddenly go, oh heck, that car in front of me is going considerably slower. And that would have been a lot slower, because remember, the pit lane speed limit is 40, for goodness sake, and it's tight for them to even get into it. So the difference would have been huge, and Krause has just been completely caught out. He could have even been looking at, because they change settings on brake bias and things like that live while they're racing, and he could have just happened to look down and suddenly do that at that point, look up again, and it's like, oh heck, that car's a lot bigger than it was a second ago.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, we've seen it before, definitely. But this is one of the it's always a talking point with this sort of racing, isn't it? You know, the pit entrances, when the drivers do try and get these cars slowed down, they're not the best at sort of braking and turning at the same time. No ABS. They're not made for very agile sort of handling. You know, they're not sort of hill climb cars or anything with ridiculous amounts of downforce. They do take some patience, and unfortunately, I just think Brian expected Mikey to have been further down and onto the apron a lot sooner, and he just tried to, you know, you do that thing when you're walking off the pavement and you just walk very close to the back of the car that's just gone past you. I think he was just expecting that slight overlap to have just gone by that point, and I think the way Mikey was slowing down, you know, he did nothing wrong there, did Mikey Doble. We've got to remember that. It just caught Brian out, unfortunately. And of course, the championship fight is an interesting one now, because the last car in the lead lap is Alex Sedgwick, right in front of Aaron Smith, Mikey Doble, Jason Glenn, and Brian Crowells, who are the 4 championship protagonists, albeit Crowell's 7th.
Intriguing.
It's a bit of a mix-up at the moment, actually, because you've got Aaron Smith.
We've had the wave through there, I see.
Yeah, you've got Aaron Smith, Mikey Doble, and Jason Glenn, Justin Nyer, Adrian Burks, and Alex Sedgwick, all on the lead lap, and then Brian Crowells is a lap down. So we've only got 3 of the championship protagonists, really, in that battle for position there. But the front 2, importantly, the front three, actually, Jason Glenn came in. They've all got fresh rubber, so these are going to be... It's going to be a 3-horse race, basically.
It is. And, I mean, you know, whilst our heart bleeds for Doble with how well it was going, and he's now got the championship, champion-elect, really, and Aaron Smith is that he's all but sealed this now, ahead of him. He's got to regain that confidence as we're about to go green any second, that he has been faster in every session than him, and so they're both on the same age of rubber. He could still get this done legitimately. He's got enough laps to do it. He's got to have the confidence. He's quicker. We're going to go race him.
Here we go then, 39 laps to go in the Richmond 200, the final round of the Vertex Stock Car Cup Season 3, and the top two filter into single file instantly. Mark Redford was looking really aggressively, down the inside of Jason Glenn there, just lifting the rear of that car a bit, lifting the rear of his own as well by the look of it. James Montgomery, who's been pushing very hard so far tonight, he's in there as well. Brian Crowles doesn't want to make contact because he's not in that full position, but at the same time he's going to be itching to get through. Montgomery dives down to the inside on Redford. That's going to be a nice simple move for him, Chris, but at the very front though, Smith just wants to break away from Doble, and he's not going to make it easy for him.
No, I don't think so. And that's...
Van Glebeek went sideways. Oh, he's around and Cedric's in it. Cedric's into him as well. Surely we're going to get a yellow for that.
How have we not?
It seems like the yellow has not come out for that. I think I saw someone mention something about cars being off below the apron. As they're coming round again, there's still no yellow flag. That's very strange indeed.
Ridiculous.
Oh, Redford. Redford's been turned. That's going to bring out the yellow. Redford, and is that Crowles in there? It is. Oh, boys. Well, that was like a sympathy yellow, wasn't it, between the pair of them? Let's just have a look at what happened.
It had been a slowdown, I think, ahead of him, and Krause has been caught out again here, sadly. I just don't understand why that wasn't a yellow. A little glitch there for not the first time this season.
Yeah, like I say, we've had some very sensitive ones, haven't we, where someone's just been on the grass and we've got a yellow, and then other times, stuff like that. I remember somebody saying the other day something about when stationary cars are below the apron for a moment, it doesn't always pick it up, but then other times it does, and it seemed like that was the case. But then, again, Van Glebeek was stationary on the track and not on the apron, so very strange. We're going to see it again, though. This is what happened to David Van Glebeek. Coming out of 1 and 2, he just loses it, and he slams on the brakes, in fairness, and I think behind, Cedric might have gone to make a move, because, yeah, you can see there, just in the right of your shot now, he's down the inside. Where does he go? Tries to avoid him. Oh, and as Van Glebeek comes off the brakes, the car got going again into the path of Alex Cedric, unfortunately. And then
I was surprised that Alex stayed pointing to that, because there was only one direction that Van Glebeek, and I'd imagine Cedric's kicking himself for that one.
Yeah, he will be. Oh, Redford was out of shape. And, oh, I think Crowell's got a hit from Mitchell into Redford there, you know. I think with them slowing up, I don't think Mitchell expected it that much. Let's just have a look from on board with Kenny Mitchell. So you'll see Redford in the white and green car on the right get out of shape. There, he's sideways, saves it. Crowells gets into him. Oh, Kenny doesn't go near him. My apologies, Kenny. It just looked from the other angle. It was
the spank of the wall, wasn't it, from Redford that slowed him up. And in fairness, Crowells this time, that was that was no misjudgment this time. That was he was already right up there with him, wasn't it? So there was nothing he could do.
No, not a chance there. Is that Mark Werrell's back out there?
It is.
He's managed to sort it out.
Cheeky Werrell.
I'm not sure how, who, what, where, or why, but fantastic. That's some spirit for you, isn't it? Mark Werrell's... I'm not going to say it. He's back out there anyway. The car's on track. We're not going to...
We're not going to mention 110 laps down.
Well, I was more
oh, the dirty ditch.
Yeah. He's got the crabs dusted off, and he's back out there now. Is Mark Werrell?
Yeah.
Never thought I'd say that.
Other eateries are available stateside, by the way.
Yes, indeed. But wow, this has spiced it up at the end of this race, hasn't it, mate? Flippy neck.
More than we were expecting, really. That's very, very odd, that one, isn't it? But Aaron Smith there, champion-elect, leading the way. Mikey Doble was already starting to threaten, wasn't he? And he just needs to regain that confidence. Jason Glenn, he's also going to be threatening to take this, though. In fairness, both of those two, I think, have been quicker than Aaron Smith here so far. But that's while Aaron Smith just sort of like kept his powder dry. Justin Naya in the 77 car. Is he directly behind them now in that 4th place? On the track, he is directly behind them, isn't he? Yeah, there we go. So he's right there. Adrian Burke, 72 in 5th place. So they are line astern them. Magenta Monty in number 14 in 6th place. Kenny Mitchell in 7th. Ooh, is that going steady?
Yeah,
that's just... Although Mark Well's just sort of unwinding some of those 110 laps, I think.
Indeed, he'll need a few go-arounds to make that work, but they're just going 2 by 2 now. Not single file, Chaz. Get your words out. But we've got a very intriguing fight up front, because at the end of the day, Mikey Doble really wants to win. Aaron Smith wants to round out his championship with a win, but at the same time, Aaron Smith needs to keep his nose clean here and not get caught up in anything if Doble goes for a hard charge.
Darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Indeed, he certainly
That's
is.
the cleaned up version.
Well, we have now 30 laps to go here in the Richmond 200. Smith puts his foot down, Doble goes with him, and then it's a Track Velocity Racing second row following them along. Doble immediately down to the bottom line, just saying, look boys, this is where I'm going to be. If you want me, give me a ring. But I'm going to go chasing after that satellite racing car first. Oh, Redford around at the back again. And another yellow. Oh, Mark's hating coming off there. Well, I said it earlier, didn't I? People are going to get a bit fed up with that.
Marks again, isn't it? It's the Marks that are struggling.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
You said that you had to be careful.
Oh, Mr. Redford, I'm so sorry.
Blame Chaz.
Yeah, hashtag blame Chaz has been used in a number of other series at the moment, I'm afraid. Commentators curse all over it. But Alex told us before, didn't he, that banking... Oh, you know what? I think he's adjusted his inputs a bit to get around Van Beek, and it's just been a little too much. You know how sensitive these cars are, don't you?
Well, and I don't think his car was in tip-top condition after the incident a moment ago as well anyway. Yeah, you look at that. He's lifted, and it's just thrown him. It's the lifting oversteer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a combination of that, a little bit more lock maybe on Van Beek, and of course that horrible crest off the banking, and it's not a nice cocktail at all, that. I don't really fancy trying that one. Now, Alex Sedgwick has he gone for a wee again?
It's that old chestnut, isn't it? That's what we've caught them out doing before.
Yeah, we've had him stop before, and we thought, oh no, what's gone on there? And
couldn't be like it myself.
And you know, he's then not sort of taken the car back to the pits. He's not disappeared off track, and then all of a sudden he gets going again. We've seen.
I think it's quite a good thing to be able to do if they're able to do that. You know, early enough in this caution. You know, so you think about it in the real world, and this might be an insight for. There we go, an insight for some people. In the real world, if they need the toilet, they can just wee themselves in their race overalls. It's not a problem. I don't think it's quite. I think it's a bit more frowned upon if you do it in your sim rig, to be honest.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'd say it shows commitment, but
I'd agree with you there, mate. But I don't think it's seen as such a positive. So
no.
The fact that you can just suddenly stop, and although I don't know, for me it looked like he was actually going to be coming round again this time. That it hasn't necessarily thrown him back where he was, but historically you've been able to then slot yourself back in again if you're under a caution.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on him. I think he's just getting to the back of the train now. So the sim will probably tell the other drivers as Ivan Bauman's comes to the pits. He's expecting potentially something else to go on here. Now, will Alex slot back in? He's not. Yeah, I was going to say he's not going slower than Kenny or anybody else around him. So he does get a chance to slot into place. But at the front of this, here is Aaron Smith. Lights still on the pace car as well. So we've got another lap after this one, but he is champion-elect at the moment, Chris. We're going to have 25 laps of the championship left after this one. It's just been another barnstormer by Aaron Smith so far, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is that whole patience, isn't it? And credit where it's due. And he hasn't gone extra safe, has he? To be fair, we've said about patience, but he hasn't gone extra cautious, extra safe. He's still played it brilliantly hard. Hence, he sat there at the front. And you got to say, even worst case scenario, you'd say surely he's going to get himself on the podium to secure this championship. Not that we'd put the victory past him either at the moment.
No, indeed. Never put a win past Aaron Smith. We've learned that You never know what this boy can be capable of. But Mikey Doble is going to push him to the end. So too is Jason Glenn. And to have his rear gunner teammate there, Justin Nair as well, Daytona winner this season. Justin will be very, very pleased to be able to help his teammate out in the championship fight. It's going to take a lot to turn it round. We know that, being realistic. But I think this is going to be a fantastic way to round it out. Hopefully no more yellows. Touching wood as I say that. But we're going to start lap 176 of 200 in the Richmond 200 in the Vertex Stock Car Cup Season 3. Last quarter century of the season is underway. Doble was putting the pressure on as much as he could there. Looks like Montgomery's having a bit of fun with Adrian Burks. Brian Kral's down the inside of Sedgwick as well. 2x2 with those guys. Lovely stuff. Everyone keeping it tidy on the exit. It's getting very close indeed though, isn't it? Still side by side. Alex making sure that Brian gets a good look at that yellow line down low, but at the front, Aaron Smith still leads him, and he has had another strong restart, Chris.
Yeah, he has, hasn't he? Which we've seen many, many times over the previous seasons. But in fairness, the two pretenders just behind have gone with him as we were expecting, which is why I sort of made the comment in that. He's going to finish on the podium. It is their top three of Smith, Doble and Glenn for me at the moment. Big scrape of the wall. Was that Doble, I think, wasn't it?
Just the left rear as he was just sliding it through the tri-oval, just scraping. It looked fantastic from on board Jason Glenn. But, yeah, that's how close they're getting. Getting the odd kiss of the wall. It's a bit of a stalemate at the minute, though, isn't it?
But I mean, we've still got 22 laps left to go. I mean, Doble's going to be probably looking to try and make that move sooner rather than later.
He's done his personal best actually last time round.
Yeah, good point. But then again, I was about to say, is he going to want to? Because at the moment, he's the hunter. As soon as he makes that move, he's the hunted. And so is he going to just sort of like sit himself there until we get into the closing stages and then make that move? He's certainly pushing it, let's be fair.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's going to be fireworks in the sim after this anyway. But, he's making his own. That was a bigger hit of the wall, though. And he's not going to be too pleased with that one because that's going to drop him quite a lot of momentum down that back straight and potentially damage the right-hand side of the car. They are left-hand drive. So
the godsend for him there, though, is that Jason Glenn checked up a bit there, didn't he? He saw it happening and he kind of went, well, I can't get involved in that. Yeah, and he wasn't able to pounce, but he also didn't want to be involved in the incident himself. So, fair shout.
Yeah, he had to be very careful. As Brian Krause and Alex Sedgwick, who pitted on lap 165, 9 laps newer tyres than your race-leading trio. These two are a little bit quicker at the moment, only a couple of tenths. I mean, they're doing 22.9s. Although, actually, no, the leaders did 22.9s last time as well, so they're just quicker than the guys that are behind them on track. But they're actually ahead in terms of position. It's just these guys are a lap down on that. So they get to have their own little fight. They've been glued at the hip, haven't they, all race long, these pair?
Yeah, it doesn't matter where they've been in the overall running, does it? They've just sort of like gravitated to each other.
And that's what you love to see. Justin Nair holding this train up a little bit at the moment. Not necessarily holding them up. I don't think that's the right words to use, Chaz. But, you know, he's going about his race. And the guys behind just haven't got an answer for it at the moment, have they?
No, and you kind of got to say, well, I think that they're all largely on the same sort of tyre age now, aren't they? Because of the cautions that we have had. So it has done, as you called it earlier, the reset button. So it is this sort of final shootout now. What we're down to the last 15 laps now of the 150 odd miles, and it comes down to this.
Indeed, and you never know. Any feistiness and we could get another yellow, but the only yellow that's worth thinking about at the moment is the yellow on this man's car, Aaron Smith, who has won, I believe, 4 races already this season out of the 6 that we've had. He won the first 3, and then he didn't have the best of times at Daytona, but then he bounced back with a win in round 5 at the Roval. Last time out at Homestead, Miami. Again, not his strongest performance, but
Smith just hit the wall there. Sorry, mate. Is that so? It's still not done and dusted, is it? That they're all still capable of making their own tiny little mistakes on this challenging short circuit.
as Naya has dropped behind Burks and Montgomery now. The two of them have both got ahead. As Naya chucks it down the inside, there's contact, and that's surely going to be another yellow. He actually saved it, but
Wow.
Naya, it was a little clumsy from Justin Naya. A little bit too late down the inside. Very optimistic, but you've got to think. I mean, I would say, is that tactical from Track Velocity Racing? But these boys wouldn't cause an incident on purpose. I know these guys. we both do.
And I don't think it's necessarily worth it, because you've got to say is that Smith would have to lose virtually, all positions now. So, I don't think that it's possible. Redford's out now as well, I see, actually, sadly, in the 31 car. The damage was obviously a bit too much.
Yeah, he pulled over earlier and he's said in the YouTube chat as well he retired in shame, unfortunately. But he's enjoyed himself. He says it's been fun to race with these guys. And hello, Mikey Doble.
Ooh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
I said I had a suspicion he could go for the last 10 to 20 laps on fresh rubber. Glenn's sensibly thrown the same dice.
Yeah, now the difference is going to be, let's have a look. Aaron Smith pitted on lap 156. So it's 33 laps, and I mean, we saw the difference that just sort of 9 laps makes as Mark Werrell's decided to churn up the grass on
Kenny
the infield.
Mitchell's in again as well, by the way, so we know he's going to go flying on these last 10 laps.
Oh, and he's actually... I know, I thought he jumped him then, but he's not. Sorry, I got the wrong driver. But Jason Glenn's out. Now, Mikey Doble's pit stop was 9.5 seconds. So too was Jason Glenn. Kenny Mitchell's was 10.5. Maybe just a slight difference in the fuel or something there. Montgomery's in now as well. But Aaron Smith staying out. Now, track position is important here, isn't it? Because while the guys were really quick earlier on the new rubber, I still think that getting held up behind the guys on the inside of each corner is not. You're not going to have enough time left, I don't think. I really don't think they're going to have enough time left.
Well, I'm not sure, because if you consider that Doble's still on the same lap as Aaron Smith, so I think he will. I think he's going to get himself through this, and he's got every chance of taking a victory. Of course, don't forget Jason Glenn, Kenny Mitchell are going to go with them. Although Kenny Mitchell must be a lap down, is that right?
No, he's that's for position with Jason Glenn in front of him.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the wrong blue. Of course, that's Brian Crowell's just behind, and that is for position there. Brian Crowell's in 6th place, actually, interestingly. So,
and then Justin. So they have actually formed quite the train, because then it's James Montgomery, and then Alex is back at the front of this train, but the back of the queue.
Presumably, we'll get a wave through. Will we? We did earlier. I don't know. We'll see.
I think Ivan Bauman's will be the first one to go, if any of them. Past Aaron Smith. Adrian Burks is second in the race, so if Ivan does get waved past now, this is going to get even more interesting, because what will Adrian Burks do to stop Mikey Doble going forward? As Ivan's actually letting them go through now. They might have just Ivan might have just been put to the back of the line just because he's a lap down.
Yeah, it makes sense, because we don't really want to spend time doing catch-ups now, do we? We just want to get this thing back underway. We're 9 laps left to go. Lights are still on at the moment.
I'm intrigued.
We'll get this underway.
I'm intrigued what Adrian Burks can do here. Now,
look, there's Doble there. Look at Doble. He's going to be on the fresh rubber. This is Doble's race now.
Yeah, indeed. 33 laps difference between these tyres. And Adrian Burks could be the joker in the pack, couldn't he, with Aaron Smith? He could defend from Doble with all he's got. But you never know. I think confused by the order here, whether I think Smith and Burks need to swap sides, don't they? Because Doble was third. Aaron stayed up high, and the rest of them are 2 by 2. So Burks should surely be on the outside, and Smith on the inside. Because you got first on the right, then second on the left, then third on the left, and then fourth on the right. Or at least that's what I thought. But anyway, they're going to sort it out. Smith puts his foot down. So too does Doble. And look at this. Off the line, Mikey Doble going for it. Jason Glenn also in there as well. Jason Glenn around the outside makes that work on Adrian Burke. So that's one down. Now we are back to stalemate. But Mikey Doble has 30 laps fresher tyres.
As does Glenn. Don't forget, Jason Glenn just behind. They both pitted at the same time. So it is these two. That's why it was amazing to watch them split in either side of of Adrian Burks, which I'd imagine Adrian, bless him, was there probably trying to keep out of the way, and it didn't quite work out that way. But Aaron Smith is surely he's just going to know there's nothing he can do about this in terms of these two. These two guys should be able to make the move. Goodness me.
Jason Glenn was so sideways off 1 and 2, bless him. But Mikey Doble to the front at Richmond with 5 laps
there goes
to go
our
after this
beer.
one. Yeah, no. Mikey, put the beer back, please. Kenny Mitchell, though. Car 4, P4 once again. Then he's got Montgomery, Burks, Naya and Crowles in there as well. All chasing down. But what a fantastic stroke of, well, not stroke of luck, but stroke of genius by Mikey Doble. He thought, "I'll stuff it. You know, there's not that many cars to get through," and it really worked out for him with how many of them pitted. You have to say, though, you know, Aaron Smith is still in the position to win this championship, so he might be just thinking, you know what, Mikey deserves this win. He's put on an absolutely wonderful show, but he can't let himself fall down too far. He still needs to think about points, does Aaron Smith. So it's definitely not over yet. Side by side with Kenny Mitchell. James Montgomery's been an absolute star tonight. I've really enjoyed watching James be an absolute yo-yo up and down the order. Sideways into turn 1, sunshine. Oh, love it. Love it from James Montgomery. Probably one of my drivers of the race this evening, other than Mikey Doble.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking to make a challenge on Aaron Smith again, isn't he? Aaron just needs to compose himself, because surely the others are on sort of similar tyre strategies around him. I know that the ones that have already got past him weren't, but I wasn't sure that Montgomery, I thought he had a bit of life on those tyres already done. Maybe not, although he's just blinked out. He's disappeared.
Oh, I really hope for his sake that is not the end of his race. Oh no, that would be, after that, now that's a commentator's curse if I've ever seen one. That's literally the worst, isn't it? What a nightmare.
Odd, isn't it?
Yeah, that's such a shame that. It's just an instant blink. But this man, Mikey Doble, came into this race 4th in the championship, 207 points. Jason Glenn and Brian Crowles were 1 point ahead of him. The pair of them tied on points. He's got the white flag here at Richmond. A few weeks ago, he bet Chris and I a beer each if he didn't win the race. He then said Doble or quits, and he's going to do it. We're out of a beer, but you've got to give it to Mikey Doble, who wins at Richmond, and Aaron Smith is your double Vertex Stock Car champion. Fantastic stuff. Well done, mate.
Absolutely brilliant. And there, we love it when he does that, doesn't he? I mean, we got to just sort of like, I don't think we dare crunch the figures, because there's also who gets runner-up in the championship as well.
Oh, yeah.
He's done enough to sneak himself up through. It's going to be a bit hard to work that one out, to be honest with you, because it's all the extra bonus points are going to make a difference, because they are split by 1 point when they came into this, the next 3.
They are indeed. I'm just going to turn the volume up, everybody, so you can enjoy these donuts from Mikey Doble. You've got to absolutely love that. Fantastic stuff from all these guys. Mikey Doble, very deserving winner this evening, but Aaron Smith has put on another absolutely incredible performance all season, all year, in fact. You know, for the last 12 months, he's really been a star in this championship, and I mean, even the special events we've done as well, Chris. Aaron's just a hero, isn't he, of this championship? And what a top bloke as well. You know, we always say that you get champions sometimes. Oh, hello. Sometimes you get champions that, you know, while they are deserving on the race side of things, you just always get the nice guys sometimes finish last in these things. But Aaron is such a nice guy. It's just great to see him take that crown once again.
Absolutely, it's a fair shout, and he did that with more aplomb and fight than he needed to, which is the sign of a great champion for me as well.
Certainly is. We'll give you the race results then for the Richmond 200. Mikey Doble takes his first win in the championship, and what a time to do it as well, finishing the season on a high. Jason Glenn finishes second, with Kenny Mitchell in third place. Great drive from Kenny tonight. Aaron Smith is your champion, finishing in 4th position. That's his best non-race win finish of the season, I believe. Adrian Burks managed to recover from 5th after being involved in the cautions early on. That's great stuff. Justin Nair and Brian Crowles together there in 6th and 7th. They were the last cars on the lead lap. Alex Sedgwick finishes 8th ahead of David Van Glabeek. James Montgomery, unfortunately, 4 laps down after disconnecting right at the end there. Not a clue why, but he just completely disappeared at the end. That's a real shame, that is. Marcel Freinzehner finishes 11th. Ivan Bauman's finishes 12th. Mark Redford 13th, 32 laps down. And Mark Murphy and Mark Werrell, like we said before, Chris, if your name's Mark, it's not been the best of evenings, has it?
No, it really hasn't.
Well, amazing stuff. Really enjoyed that one, and what a great way to round out the season, because, I mean, well, we'll just drag him in. We'll just have a chat with him. Mikey Doble, well, you said double or quits last week, mate. You meant it, and you went out and delivered. You must be absolutely beaming right now.
Yeah, I sure am. It's been quite a long time coming to finally take a win in this series. It's so hard to beat, you know, to do everything perfect in the race, to actually get a win, you know, with all the pit strategy and saving the tyres and putting in the lap times as well. But finally got there tonight, so I'm very pleased with that.
Well, I mean, you don't have to buy either of us a beer now, and to be honest, mate, after that performance, I think we owe you one as well, because that was just great. And what was your... I mean, the strategy worked at the end, but what was you thinking when you first did that? Did you imagine that you'd be that close to the front when you came back out?
Well, I checked how many cars. I mean, when I was in the lead in the middle of the race, I mean, I was trying to save my tyres and manage the gap to second, but when I started to see that the race was actually going green for a long time, I thought, right, I've got to put as many cars a lap down as I can so I can pull that exact move at the end if I need to. So really, I knew realistically I would be at worst fifth on the grid with 8 laps to go. I still thought it was doable, but luckily I had some friends coming behind me, which meant I restarted 3rd, and I only took right-hand side tyres because I knew Jason would do the same. But luckily there was no more cautions after that, and I had the laps to be able to come back and fight Aaron.
Well, it certainly worked out, mate, and it looked like a very difficult circuit to get right lap after lap as well. I mean, Chris and I were talking about the banking and how it levels out after 1 and 2. Over the course of the long run, were the tyres really feeling bad off there, or was it manageable, would you say?
It's definitely manageable. I think when the cars are at their most difficult to drive is on the first lap or 2 of a run, because although they're quick, they're not quite up to temperature and you're carrying a lot of speed out the corners, so it's easy to lose it. I think the longer the run goes on, even though the grip starts to fade away, the car becomes more manageable and the slides become more progressive. That's why you saw, if we got past that kind of 20-25 lap barrier, we went on for about 100 laps or something under green, because people started to get into a rhythm. They could feel where the limit was on their car, whereas when you're doing, you know, caution after caution, people don't get in a rhythm, and you're generally more bunched up, so it's harder to get on top of the handling of your car. But I wouldn't say they become more difficult to drive, but you've just got to control it with the right foot, I'm afraid.
You just got to be a bit more aware of it getting looser and looser as it goes on, I imagine. But it was a phenomenal performance around the season. Now, Chris, any questions from you, my friend?
Apologies if this was arced. I was suddenly multitasking with numbers and trying to work out. I think you've got 2nd in the championship. Forgive me if my quick maths is wrong there. But I don't know whether this was actually already asked, but that moment when you were coming into the pits and you suddenly got molested from the rear, we were saying, I bet you were furious at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what to think. I was kind of in shock, actually, that it's actually happened. But I said to the guys, I mean, yeah, we kind of have a bit of a etiquette that we tell each other when we're coming into the pits. And I was coming down the back straight, and I tried to press the button to tell people, but someone else was talking. So I had to wait for him to finish. And then I said pitting in just as I was going into turn 3. But it unfortunately wasn't enough time for Brian to react and go to the outside. But luckily, there was minimal damage, and I sort of did a 360 and carried on actually in the lead. So to be honest, it probably did me a favour, if anything. The only mistake I really made was on that pit stop. I stayed in the pits to try and take a few seconds of repairs, just because I didn't know how badly the car was damaged, and I like to save the quick repair for a major incident should I need to repair the car. And Aaron nabbed me out of the pits, so that was kind of my biggest challenge there, was to actually gain track position. over Aaron, and for once I made a good pit strategy call, which is probably the first one I've made this season, and it's actually worked out to take the lead off of Aaron with 4 or 5 laps to go.
But you clearly had the common sense and what have you to remain patient, because you didn't suddenly go gung-ho straight from the get-go. Okay, got you, but you clearly just managed that closing and had confidence. I made the comment in the commentary going, you've got to have the confidence that you have been quicker than him during the course of all the sessions so far. But it's the other one to actually implement that, isn't it, when you're frustrated?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Aaron is I hadn't really, he had been kind of a couple of positions back from me all race, so I hadn't really raced with him and seen where he was driving good and where I was a little bit quicker. But actually, before that caution came out where I pitted at the end, I was struggling a little bit because the gap was kind of remaining the same. It looked like Aaron was driving harder than he was all race, which meant I had to drive harder, and I was spinning the tyres up, and I didn't really fancy my chances at that point. So then when the caution came out, I thought there's enough laps to go to actually come in and make a pit call and to try and win the race, because I think I might have got to his bumper, but whether I'd been able to have passed him at the end, he's a good driver, he knows exactly where to put the car. It wouldn't have been an easy task to get by him cleanly anyway.
Well, it was absolutely amazing to watch, Mikey. Finally getting that first win. It was really, really good stuff to watch. You've definitely made our evenings up here in the box. Before we let you go, though, obviously looking to next season, do you reckon that we'll see you back and see you fighting for wins again?
Yeah, well, I'll definitely be back. So hope that's one thing I can guarantee. Whether I'll be winning again, just hope so. But no, I love this series. I mean, this is my favourite series I do on iRacing. So I'll definitely be ripping Alex's arm off if there's offer to come back and do some more racing. And by the sounds of it, we're in some new cars next season, which will shake things up a bit and make everyone start again from scratch, which is good. Yeah,
definitely. They were really good in the track velocity race the other night as well. Actually, it was really good fun.
Very different from these cars as well. So although they might not look it from the camera, they drive a hell of a lot differently to these cars. So it'll be an interesting challenge when we get round to it.
Yeah, it will.
I have to say, awesome performance though, Mikey. I was saying it again during the commentary, saying that you were sort of Mr. Consistency this series. Third, fourth, fifth, third, fourth, second, and now the elusive victory as well. And all right, unfortunately, Aaron had just got those few extra with the sort of 4 wins. But what a fantastic performance over the course of the season. And you've got to look at that as a whole and go, do you know what? I might not have quite got the championship, but as a whole, that's a damn good performance.
Yeah, I'm pleased with myself. I'm pleased to have been in contention every race. I didn't really have a poor race where I wasn't quick enough or I was just out of contention. A couple of races I made a few poor strategy calls which maybe cost me some better positions, but when I was looking at the points coming into this, and I think without a drop score I was only 4 points behind Aaron outright, so I might have even actually scored the most amount of points this season with the bonus points from tonight, but with a drop score obviously I'm probably coming up a few points short, but definitely a lot of positives to take, considering last season I was a complete beginner and I wasn't anywhere near as competitive as this, so to beat these people is it should be I'm quite proud of myself to beat people like Alex and Aaron and Brian and people like that.
Well, very well done from the pair of us, Mikey. It was absolutely wonderful to see it, and hopefully we'll see you next time, mate, when it comes about. But for now, have a great evening. We'll speak to you very soon, buddy.
Can I just give a big thanks to Lucky Wheels for sponsoring me for the last few rounds. I hope they've enjoyed having their logo as a livery on the car. It's a cracking car, and shout out to all my family and friends that are out there watching. I know they're watching. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll post you the link when the next series is up.
One of your mates actually said that if he didn't win this race, then he wouldn't watch anymore. So there you go. He's got to now. That's,
I was very much aware of that, and that gave me a little bit of extra motivation to whether it's to his displeasure or not. He did say he loves watching this, so shout out to Gary Perrin out there. I know he likes to get involved in the chat.
Love it. Great to speak to you, Mikey. Well done again, and we'll see you soon, mate.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Great coverage.
Thank you very much, mate. Awesome stuff. Lovely bloke there. Your race winner, Mikey Doble. Now, the man that finished in second place, one of only 2 drivers, well, the only driver that finished the race, that finished where he started, Jason Glenn, joins us in the box. Jason, you were in the heart of all of that, weren't you, with all the different tyre strategies and everything, and you must be pretty happy with second place. It was a good run.
I think I got lost at one point. I didn't know what was going on. Yeah, I thought at the end we could try and throw Mikey a little dummy and get 2 tyres and he would stay out with Aaron, but obviously that didn't work. But I think the last stint or whatever, I just stayed out and did my usual run the fuel as far as I can go in the hope that something would happen to get back to him, because Mikey was, I think he was way far ahead, but it felt a bit messy at some points. I didn't really know what was going on, but yeah, I mean, another podium. It's just that elusive wins just sort of keeps just getting away from me, really.
Yeah, we've seen it evade a few people so far in these, even just the short seasons we've had. You know, there's drivers up there like yourself and like Mikey as well that have always been knocking on the door, as Chris has been saying, and it's great to see that breakthrough. So I'm pretty sure we'll see the same from you very soon. Has there been any particular highlight this season for you, other than like results or anything? Any sort of specific racing you've really enjoyed?
Well, you know, just to rub it in his face, going around the outside of Mikey on the last lap at Road America would probably count as my overtake of the season, to be honest. But it's just been good fun. It's just been, the first race for me was just an absolute failure. It was really bad, but in a way it was, because you've got the drop round, it's not hurt me too much. So it's just been a good fun, you know, season. It's one of the most fun I've had. Really hard racing, loads of kind of thinking of having to do just strategy instead of everyone following the leader. Everyone was just doing their own thing, and you were trying to, you know, when Alex and Brian stayed out and that one, it's like, oh, okay, are they doing that now? What does Alex know that we don't? Which turned out it didn't work for them. But yeah, no, it's just been all round a good season, I think.
Yeah, it has been absolutely awesome to watch. And of course, with another season on the horizon later on in the year, will we be seeing you back in it again?
Of course you will. Yep, for definite. I mean, as long as work and offshore doesn't get in the way, then I'll be there. And obviously we're kind of joined in with Alex now in track velocity, so we're going to be doing all the one-off events and that throughout the year. And I think we're going to be trying to do a couple more things for charity as well, and hopefully get as many numbers as we can. So no, you'll definitely see me back, as much as you hate it. I know you do.
No, we love it, Jason. You're a top bloke and a really, really good driver to watch. And of course, we really do look forward to the next one. Is there anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to before you go?
Obviously, thanks to you and Chris for all the commentating. I mean, it gets commented on every time that how good it is and how much it's you make what can sometimes look like a boring race very interesting. So thanks to you guys. My mate Bowman, who was watching, Chris and the 2 boys, Owen and Cole, who've watched as well, who was driving their paint scheme again the past couple of races. Dad, who watches, Lisa and all the other friends that kind of watch and have been introduced to this kind of world of sim racing, which I don't think any of them knew was there, but I've kind of been fascinated by ever since kind of being able to give someone watch, not win races.
Well, it's been great to have you, Jason. Thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time round, mate.
Cheers, boys. Catch you later.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you. News just in as well from the man himself, Alex Sedgwick, who's just working out all the points. Without drop scores considered, Mikey Doble tied for the win at the championship with Aaron Smith. That is unbelievable.
I'm impressed, because that means the spreadsheet I got in front of me, that's exactly what I had, that they'd tied on 292, I think it would have been.
Yeah, it's just so incredibly close, but again, just shows how well Mikey's done this season and why he deserves the win. Someone else who I'd say deserves a win.
But just to clear that one up, by the way, that means that Aaron does win it by 9 points after the drop score, but Mikey Doble does finish second.
Yes, indeed. Doble's second in the championship, but what a fantastic performance. But another winner that I'm sure if we come back to next season, he'll be on there on the top step. Kenny Mitchell joins us in the box. Kenny, you had a very, very strong run tonight. The odd feisty moment here and there. What did you make of it overall?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one tonight. It felt a little bit like Iowa for me in terms of going up and down the field a couple of times. But again, like Iowa, this sort of track suits my driving style, so I was able to, with the help of a couple of yellows, get back on the lead lap and finish more or less where I thought I might have ended up. I seemed to run quite good in the practice races the last couple of days, so top 3 was the aim, so I'm glad I was able to get back and get a podium.
Well, yeah, it certainly worked out for you. And I mean, just talk to us about the fresh rubber out there, because there was a massive pace difference visually from our perspective. Did it really feel that drastic from inside the car as well?
Yeah, for me anyway, I think I'm going into turn one a little bit more aggressive. It's a different line from most other drivers. So I think my front right was taking it more than the rears, which I believe a lot of other guys were struggling with. So it was just really trying to balance it a little bit. I kind of pushed for 10 laps or so and then eased off a little bit to let the temps go down and then would push again. But there seemed to be a massive drop in the rear for me around 30 lap point. So it's a really tricky one here. It does seem to eat up the rear tyres quite a bit. So the car gets very loose, and like you said, there was a couple of hairy moments. I think I hit the wall a couple of times, but no real damage, but it did kind of slow me up a little bit. But no, it was a great track. Really enjoyed that tonight.
It certainly looked like fun. And in terms of the championship, you finished 5th, 45 points off the top spot, which is pretty much the amount that you get for a race win. So not really a bad first go at this championship, all in all, is it? It's a good, strong result.
Yeah, I mean, top 10 was the aim overall for this, just with the quality of drivers that are in here. Some of the best that I've raced against on iRacing. It really is a high level in here. So top 10 was the target at the start of the season. So to finish top 5 is just unbelievable for me, with the drivers that I'm racing with, you know.
Yeah.
So really proud with that. Yeah, very happy with that.
And if, obviously, I know we will at some point, but when we get to another season this, can we expect to see you on the top spot? Do you reckon you'll get that breakthrough?
I don't know. Again, like I was saying, there's a lot of really fast guys in here. I mean, I was racing my heart out tonight, but I just could not get close to Mikey there. Managed to keep up for maybe 90% of the first run. But it's the tyre management and strategy kind of holds me back a little bit. That's something I'm going to try and work on before the next season starts here. But obviously I'd love to nab a win. But it's going to be a tall order, I think.
Well, we look forward to seeing how it goes. Kenny, anybody you want to give a quick shout out to before you go?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just thanks to Mortgage Focus for sponsoring us on this race and the previous Vertex race. And also apologies and thanks to Alex at Vertex for sponsoring me in last week's TVR Vertex opener. I made a right rookie clanger and forgot to thank them in the interview. So really appreciate everyone's support, and just thanks to all the friends and family. And I know my dad's watching, Martina, Ethan probably as well. So just massive thanks to them for all their encouragement, and also to you guys for the good work that you do on the broadcast. I'm going to go and have a beer, I think, and watch this back and hopefully enjoy it.
Oh, it was a cracker, mate. A real cracker. But again, well done, Kenny. Great to speak to you again, mate. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Great stuff. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. And well, we can't finish without speaking to our newly crowned, re-crowned, would you say, champion, Aaron Smith. Aaron, first off, mate, again, well done from us. It's been another tremendous season for you. Tied on points, though, without drop scores from Mikey Doble, so it certainly went down to the wire, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It was a lot closer than I'd like to have been, but had a pretty good season overall, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the sort of early streak of wins set the tone, but I mean, races such as Daytona and Homestead, you didn't have it all your own way, so I imagine you are pretty pleased to still come out on top after those.
Absolutely. I mean, when the season goes from winning every race to finishing almost last in a couple of them, it gets pretty scary at times, but glad we're able to make the most of it.
Yeah, definitely. It's been amazing. And has there been any sort of secret key, or, well, obviously if it's secret you might not want to tell us, but any secret key to your pace again this season? Because, I mean, some of the guys jokingly say that they never see you practicing at all, but you just managed to pull this pace out of your pocket out of nowhere. Is there any sort of secret you've unlocked, do you think, with these cars, or is it just consistent practice and just determination?
Well, if I had to give a secret, it would be just to wreck the car a lot during practice. You find the limit, you'll find like where the edge of it is and be able to push it and go fast. But yeah, that's about it.
Fair play. Well, I mean, Chris and I always say, you know, you're such a deserving champion and you are such a chilled guy with it. Do you stay this chilled when you're behind the wheel and racing as fast as you do?
Oh, no, there are a lot of factors that go into it. Even if we're not doing it in real life, you got to do the math for fuel strategy, make sure you don't wreck your car, make sure you don't wreck other people's cars, all that stuff. It gets tough at times, but works out more often than not.
It does indeed. And obviously, 2 championships now, another season planned on the horizon for Vertex Stock Car Cup. I imagine we'll be seeing you back, won't we, for a potential third, get the hat-trick?
I'd like to show up again, maybe field a few extra cars, get the field a bit larger for next season, but you never know.
Well, we certainly look forward to it, Aaron. Again, fantastic achievement this season. Chris, any questions from you, buddy?
No, I think that covers it. Absolutely amazing to see, and I think as it's summed up there, what I loved seeing this year, Aaron, was that you didn't get it your own way. Those couple of races that didn't go the way you'd expect them, and it's nice to see that you're human, Aaron, and that you had to sort of like play the long game as well.
Absolutely. And it makes all of this worthwhile, really fun to do each week. So I'm glad we were able to keep going with that.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And I suppose the one question is today, was there an element that you kind of kept your powder a bit drier than you might have done in normal circumstances, playing the championship card today, of not throwing your nose where it didn't need to be?
Not really. I was going for it with the pit strategy there before we got that caution around lap 50. Probably would have had a good shot at it if not, but wanted to do some damage control there between then and the end because I knew Mikey was so much faster there in the long runs.
Loved it. Awesome job, though. Absolutely brilliant, mate.
Well, very well done, Aaron, and hopefully next time around we'll see you at the top spot again. Is there anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to before you go?
I'd like to thank everyone at Vertex for putting this show on, y'all for broadcasting, and the folks at Satellite Racing for having me for this season and maybe the next season. You never know. And everyone for watching. Looking forward to next season, whenever that may be.
Indeed, we're looking forward to it too, Aaron. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon, buddy. Well done.
Alrighty, thank you.
Your Season 3 champion there, Aaron Smith. Absolute hero. Doing a wonderful job all season long, and so too has this man as well. The boss, Alex Sedgwick, joins us in the chat. Alex, you didn't have the perfect race tonight, but it looked like you had a hell of a lot of fun, especially with Brian Crowles.
Yeah, I think everything I planned to do was the wrong decision for this race, seemingly. But a lot of fun. Yeah, some great racing with everyone. Obviously, I seemed to be around Brian quite a lot. We ended up obviously on the same kind of strategy, which I think would have been okay. We literally needed like a couple laps longer. If we could get Aaron, Mikey, I think the 2 or 3 guys that still hadn't pitted to pit, and then the caution came out, we'd have been looking pretty good. As the last green flag stop I did, I was good to go to the end on fuel, and obviously making up quite a lot of ground as I had the new tyres while their pace had dropped off a little bit. So yeah, it could have been a good plan, but plenty of things in life could have worked out if things happened differently. So yeah, no matter what, a lot of fun. Obviously, it was cool to have all the guys that were fighting for the championship, Aaron, Jason, Brian and Mikey all together for a lot of the race, especially at the start with I think it was Brian and Mikey going at it, which was pretty intense. I thought they were going to write each other off like 40 laps into the race at one point, which wouldn't have been ideal, but great to watch. I'm looking forward to watching it back, and a really good season. Obviously, we've got a deserving champion once again in Aaron, from winning 3 or 4 of the races this season, and always been super consistent and right there. Obviously, Jason, Brian, Mikey, 3 guys that have been around in this series as well pretty much since we started it, and developed so much and learned so much and become really good. So it's cool to obviously see them doing well and fighting for it all the way to the end, and no matter what, a lot of fun, and great to have everyone involved who's raced with us, and obviously not only being a part of this race but part of the whole season.
Yeah, it's been another absolute corker, really, hasn't it, Chris? We've been loving it up here in the commentary box because we've had our eyes on a few different drivers that have really progressed over the last season and, well, the last 2 seasons, really, haven't we?
Absolutely, and I think it was summed up with the comments we made tonight, is that we were actually surprised, Alex, to see cautions tonight, because it's been so well behaved for the last handful of races.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's obviously going back to a short track. Sorry, it's to be expected. There's going to be a little more carnage, but yeah, for sure. I think they fell in interesting times as well, where they did really, as you saw, you know, they put people on split strategies and kind of shook up the race. Yeah, I think it's, you know, if you look back at short track races we've done in the past, you know, it was pretty clean, it was pretty green. We had 2 and a bit stints effectively for me under green, with 2 green flag pit stops. So yeah, it was obviously not ideal for the cautions, but made it interesting for sure.
Well, we enjoyed watching it every single lap. It's been another fantastically entertaining championship, Alex. And in terms of future plans and looking back at this season, do you feel like Vertex is still, you know, it's still gaining momentum time after time, isn't it? You know, it's just one big show and it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at, we're obviously on the 3rd season, and we've done all 3 seasons in a pretty short time frame, to be honest, as well. Obviously, season 1 was April, May time last year. And even with season 3, you know, we're still bringing new people in. Kenny, Mark Werrell, James Montgomery, you know, new guys that are learning, finding their feet, maybe even they've never driven a stock car in iRacing before, and they're finding out, you know, it's a lot of fun, and stick around, learn, and obviously improve and get better. And if you look at Kenny, look at James, you know, a lot of even the new guys have had shots to win races this season. So it's awesome to see that, and obviously we can build up this community where, you know, we can help them develop, and obviously no matter what, we've just got a good group of people that all get on, enjoy racing together, and obviously just have a lot of fun. So yeah, for sure, obviously we'll we'll head towards the season 4, which will probably be autumn winter time this year, using the new Xfinity cars next time. So obviously something new to the series, maybe a little bit of a level playing field. A level playing field again, as everyone's got a little bit more mileage in those cars, even the new guys. So it's not so specialist, I guess, for using the legacy cars. So obviously, hopefully that again, you know, invites a few new people into to try it out, and be cool to obviously get a nice big grid again and see what happens. Obviously, we've got some one-off events. Obviously, we've been working with Track Velocity Racing. They did their race last week. There'll be a few more of those. And then we're also going to be running some Vertex special events as well, which will be a mixture of NASCAR stuff, probably more towards the super speedway side of things. And then we'll also be running some sports car stuff with like the Daytona prototypes and some GT cars as well, which should be cool. So yeah, lots to, obviously season's over, but lots to look forward to, and lots to get involved with as well still.
Well, I really look forward to it, Alex. And again, thank you for having Chris and I on this season. It's been another one that's been very entertaining. Is there any sort of final words from you before we round up for the evening?
Yeah, I mean, once again, you know, it's great to have you two as a part of it. Great to have everyone who's supported the series. Obviously made it as great as it is, whether that's a competitor or a viewer. Obviously you guys on kind of the production and commentary. It's all a team effort, and obviously without the people racing in it and the people watching it, there wouldn't be a series to enjoy racing in. So no, big thank you to everyone involved, everyone who's been a part of it, and obviously we hope to see you all involved in the future. If you haven't raced in one of our races before, obviously the one-off events are a perfect opportunity to kind of test the waters and feel it out and have a go. And then if you like it, obviously you're more than welcome to come and get involved with season 4, which would be great. So just a big thank you to everyone who's been a part of it.
It's been absolutely brilliant, mate. Thank you very much once again. Good to speak to you, and we'll see you next time round, mate.
Sounds good. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Well, Chris, what a season we've had, mate. It's been an absolutely wonderful show, as ever. Aaron Smith, a very deserving champion. Mikey Doble, a very deserving winner tonight. And some real stars have emerged this season that in future seasons are definitely going to be on that top spot.
Absolutely. The depth and breadth of the field just gets better. The quality of racing has just got better, hence so many people like it. Still plenty of action in it where, little mistakes happen, which is, I'm glad, if I'm honest. We need that sort of spice thrown in there, but the quality of racing, and, we can only tell you because obviously we don't tend to to broadcast it, but the banter starts in the briefing beforehand, and it's just always a pleasure. And then, you and I bouncing off each other in the comms. It's a pleasure. I actually feel slightly deflated at the moment, if I'm honest, that it's over. Which is a wonderful testimony to how good it is when how once the season gets going, I'm swamped every single weekend commentating somewhere, and yet I'm still sat here deflated that this is over. That's the best compliment I can give it.
Yeah, definitely. I second that completely. No matter what real world gig comes around, being able to enjoy a real community driven championship like this that has so much of a fun factor behind it that you can do sat in your office and just sat chilling with a drink
with
in
the
evening.
Gin, it's brilliant.
It's fantastic. It really is. But either way,
it's the future, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I certainly do look forward to doing it again with you and in another season, whenever that comes around, Chris. So thank you once again. And of course, thank you to everybody for watching this season. It really has been an absolute joy. Aaron Smith is a 2-time champion in the Vertex Stock Car Cup. Mikey Doble takes his first win. And we look forward to plenty of the special events as well that Track Velocity will be putting on. Don't forget, keep an eye out for them on Vertex Esports. Make sure you like the video and subscribe. You'll see all of our future events as well. Thank you to Chris. Thank you to Alex and Adam at Vertex as well, and all the drivers for taking part. I've been Chaz Draycott. There you go. Can't even get my name right after all that. I've been Chaz Draycott. He's been the wonderful, beautiful, and adorable Chris Dawes. We'll chuck that in there. Have yourselves a fantastic evening, everybody. We'll see you next time round. Thanks again, everybody. Enjoy this with an absolute banger of a tune. We'll see you soon.